The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us that whoever builds a mosque for Allah, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. And we know the great reward that will not only be gained, but rather will fill your grave after your death. Whenever someone prays there, whenever someone gives shahada in the masjid, whenever someone learns something in the masjid, yes, that will be something that you'll have on your scale.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing? And as you guys can see, I'm joined with an esteemed guest and one that's been on the show before. See, he's so popular, people just want to get in contact with him. They want to.
Sorry, I put it on silent, you know. I'm so sorry.
We're talking about an academic of high esteem, a person who synthesizes psychology and philosophy and theology and all the other ologies together to create a product like no other. A man who has great influence in Pakistan. Last time we had a conversation, it went viral, and so we, after popular request, brought him onto the show again. Sahil, Adeem, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Okay? Alhamdulillah, you tell me.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I was gonna, actually, it's pertinent that we have you on the show because of what's recently happened with the whole Pakistan and India situation. And you're obviously a Pakistani, not just a Pakistani like we have in Britain or the US or in the West. You're a Pakistani living in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So you're in the thick of it. You know exactly what's happening. I want you to just break down in your own kind of way what happened from the very beginning, okay, with the whole attack in Kashmir, all the way until the actual skirmish took place between Pakistan and India, and what you think it indicates about the capabilities of the Indian army, the capabilities of the Pakistani army, the national spirit, whatever else you want to add to it.
Whoa, that's a lot to unpack. But let's holistically, even as far back as Gandhi, the technique that India has already shown to everyone in the world, that they're actually trying to go with the global, narrative of the moral high ground, and and I'm pretty sure if you do some sort of a survey, you'll find out that most of the people are going to back up that claim of India that they had the moral right to protect themselves. It's not just Netanyahu saying that. And that's where Pakistan actually lacks. It's not just about the comparison of the army, which we'll do in a minute.
Yeah.
The way Pakistan is so incompetent in presenting its, even if it's right, the media side of things.
Okay.
And the way it has to market itself.
And how would you recommend that they do market themselves? Because, we did see, I think, to be honest, I've been attacked by the Indian media. I see some of this kind of, I don't know if they're big or not, like Op India and these kind of, they've attacked they're big or not, but they've attacked me. And their propaganda is a bit laughable. It's like not to be taken seriously.
No, because you can think. Most people can't. Most people follow the trend. Really? And that's what they're actually trying to, create or generate as much as they possibly can. And plus, there are a billion people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They can easily trend anything in Twitter or wherever.
That's right. Yeah.
They don't need a very well-structured machine. Because that's too many.
So do you
people.
think the propaganda of India is better than that of Pakistan?
Oh, for sure.
Really,
sure. Yeah. It's not just the fact that they know how to do it. No, they're actually see, the thing about India is, and it's not just my opinion. You can see it, that whatever is going on in the world, for example, media warfare right now, they've never invented anything, but they're the best in copying any and everything that's working. And that's something that, I'm finding them a testament right now. It's not like, I know it's like the cheapest copy that you're going to find out of Netanyahu's cheapest copy is Moody, but he's still copying it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to sound like a nationalist, because I'm not. I'm a Muslim way before I'm a Pakistani. I love Indian Muslims as much as I love Pakistani Muslims, and I think this is a very, very big litmus test for Indian and Pakistani Muslims. Sure. When these sort of things happen, you need to find out, what's my religious duty first of all, then my national duty. Yeah. And sometimes they're gonna, conflict.
That's right.
And that's where the big test is. This was a test given to the Sahabas, and sometimes even, in the prophets. Where is the tribal line breached into Islam, or why are you not coming out of the tribal line. This is, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. In my opinion, is the nation state thing. It's not just the Shias and the Sunnis. It's about the Pakistanis and the Afghanistanis. It's like, this is tafarraqu. This is Tafriq as much as it can get. So much so that Shia would not kill a Sunni just because of a line drawn between them. That's a religious affair. This is not even a religious affair, and you still kill somebody about this. And it's not just Pakistan, India. It's Pakistan and Afghanistan is also at a state of war. So this is a big disclaimer before I this is something which we will inshallah talk about, as to how to tune in your Islamic gyroscope. Gyroscope. So, but truth be told, most of the people in the world are going to side with whatever India did, because Pakistan does not know how to market itself.
So how should they do that then?
First of all, quit being proud of being an underdog. That's nothing to be proud of. You know what I'm saying? I mean, being an underdog means that you already chopped off your legs for the next generation. That it's cool to be an underdog. No, it's not. It's cool to be an alpha. It's not cool to be an underdog. And you better be the alpha. Be the alpha, for God's sakes. Where are you? Why are you virtue signaling your weakness? So, okay, we are underdogs. Okay, we get that. Okay, let's just do the basic math. So, if Modi was right and their media machine are right, that they had to get back to us, then why did one phone call of Donald Trump dampen their belief system? You know what I'm saying? Where's your follow through, buddy? If you believed in so much so that you wanted to avenge whatever happened, then Donald Trump is going to stop that that revenge. That means you didn't really believe in whatever your operation was to begin with. You know what I'm saying? And people in Pakistan calling it Ghazwa Hind. It's like Ghazwa Hind is one of the indicators, not that Donald Trump's going to stop it. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is Islam is a totally different discussion. This is a discussion between two different parts of the world.
Yeah, sure.
It could have been Indonesia, Malaysia, or East Timor and Indonesia, or Venezuela, or whatever. And we would still have this sort of a conversation as to, if you do not have a real professional and well thought out plan of how to market yourself, then it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. Because
but you're going to say now, on this point, you're saying that, okay, the underdog and the alpha or whatever, but how would you compare the two armies? You're going to mention this.
Well, the thing about Pakistan is, alhamdulillah, it's so beautiful. That's the only country in the world, by the way. I do not know about any other Muslim country, because I haven't really done that kind of homework. But it's not as famous as Pakistan to have that invisible army.
Yeah.
Okay, Pakistan has two armies. One which wears the uniform, and one which is people like me living around everyday households. As soon as there's going to be a calamity of this sort, everyone's going to come in. So much so that our ex-chief of army staff, he wrote a very detailed statistical article on it with numbers, and he says that we factor that invisible army in our war plan every single time, because we know it's going to show up.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's bigger.
And they're not
in size.
reservists even.
No, they're not. We know the numbers. I'm talking about. I know the numbers. So we have about 700,000 people listed in our army, which are active and which are serving. We have about less than 100,000 which are on reserve, and then we have 350,000 invisible army factored in. That's 50% of our real army. That is the strength Pakistan has, which is.
But how would they be incorporated into the major? Like, if there was some kind of a war that was happening, how would they?
Well, they've been incorporated in the Afghan war. They've been incorporated. Yeah. They've actually fought the Afghan war. Yeah. They literally fought the Afghan war. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the A team did not come in. The B team actually fought the Afghan war.
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows about this. You know what? How do you think people? Where was the HR coming into this Afghan war? And of course, Pakistan Army knew what was going on, and it was letting the B team play because they couldn't really bring in the A team because there were so many other problems. The A team couldn't just, get off the bench. But with India, Pakistan would be gladly calling in not just the B team, but it will actually, trying to market for the C team as well.
What about when I went to Pakistan, I realized that there was, as you mentioned, the tribal differences, right? So you have like the KPK region, you have Baluchistan, and there are tensions between, you could say, Baluchi people, for example, and the Punjab people, or whatever it may be. How would this look like in terms of a war with India? Would all these tribes align together?
Oh, yeah. India is a different tribe altogether. You know what I'm saying? So with India, the TTP, you know the TTP? The local Taliban, which are against Pakistan from day one.
The Pakistani army has been attacked.
Against Pakistan. Yeah, they would be on the forefront of the eastern Indian border if this war had lingered on for more than
Are they a formidable force?
No, not really. No. I think there's just a subsidiary of a lot of forces around Pakistan. It's not Pakistan.
So
what I'm saying is, it's just a figure of speech, obviously.
Would they all come together?
Oh yeah. The liberals would come together. The religious factions would come together. Religious factions would be actually way more active. The Pakistan army would know that all fronts are open now. Everyone's, pick a weapon, come in. And
with the Ahl Hadith and the
Ahl Hadith is already fighting with the Pakistan army in wherever they are fighting, which is what they're known for. But the Deobandis would fight, the Brahmanis would fight, Shias would fight.
Really?
Yeah, the Shias would most.
Have they got militia? Have they got militias there in Pakistan? They've got formidable militias.
Not formidable, but yeah. Obviously, we know them. They're pretty famous.
Where are they usually based?
Every part of the country.
Really?
Different sockets, different pockets. Yeah. But, it's not like, Pakistan is not as dangerous as people make it out to be.
Yeah, sure.
Militias are all about anti-India
yeah.
element, or sometimes the anti-America element is, being toyed around with. But with Balochistan right now, it's just a proxy war going on between Pakistan and India in Balochistan. And I mean, there's so much to talk about there that, I don't want to take this whole podcast there. Sure. But if India actually comes in, every Balochi would come in to fight India. That's
really?
Without a question. Yeah. Without a question.
Okay, so
see, this kind of landscape is not our main marketing brand around the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is a failure on our part. That's how I see it. Why didn't you not? I mean, why are we marketing only the 4, shot down planes? Or 5? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about that then. So is that what's your analysis of that? What do you think of the 4 shot down planes? Because some would argue this is very significant. I mean, you've got these Rafales that have been bought by the West, and they've been put into action for the first time ever.
No, my analysis is this is when it comes down to this topic, this is a war against China and France, nothing else, and that's why it's marketed really well, because Chinese needed that marketing, and that is an actual victory of China. Our FJ-14s are shooting down their Rafales. It's not the fact that, let's just say, turn the tables. If we had the Rafales, they had the Chinese planes, we would have still shot their planes down. I'm not saying that, the pilot is not a factor here.
Yeah, but the Pakistani pilot.
Oh yeah.
Well acclaimed. Even they were used by the Arab armies.
Yes, they still are used by the Arab army. You don't know that? Yeah, they're used by the Arab army right now.
We need as many of those guys as possible.
Most of the Pakistani army is used by the Arab army right now. Yeah, that's my problem with the Pakistan army. That when Allah calls in for Palestine, this army doesn't go in. But MBS calls, everybody goes in. Pakistan army is in Djibouti. Pakistan is in Tunisia, in Ethiopia, on UN missions.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pakistan army, the head of the Arabian army is a Pakistani, our ex-chief.
Really?
Yeah, Rahid Sharif is heading the Arabian MBS army.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
because they've got a lot of planes now, so they need people to teach them how to use them, I guess,
No, he was not an Air Force guy. But
is he not an Air Force guy?
No. He's I think he's an infantry guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not an Air Force guy. Maybe from the Armored Corps. I wouldn't know. But either one of them. Our air chief right now, he's the big talk of Pakistan, the big name. Because of obviously he better be. I mean, he shot down 4 French planes with Indians sitting in them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How many died? How many Indians died altogether?
See, that's where my point is. There's no way to find out. So see, when the truth is being concealed by whatever propaganda, that's where the Muslim comes into trouble. It's like, how do I actually go to the truth? But this is obvious that the planes, because France confirmed it.
Yeah.
Everybody confirmed it actually after France confirmed it. And China confirmed it.
Yeah, China's very happy about it.
China better be happy about it. Their machines are, far superior. And they cost 1/3 of the money. This is
And it's interesting you talk about this. I don't want to take on too much of a tangent, but I went to Japan recently. Yeah. And obviously Tokyo is very well built and stuff like that. The infrastructure is amazing. And it's like kind of dwarfs what you see here in London or West or whatever.
For sure.
Even New York. It kind of makes, it's like New York on steroids. Really. But then I started speaking to some of the guys that have been around the area. And they were saying, but you should look and see how the Chinese cities are built up.
I've lived in China, yeah.
Have you? And is it true then?
Yeah, Shanghai, my God, Beijing, their eastern coast is lined up with something which is going to, you'd forget New York. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They're way out of the game.
And the point they were making was, and this is an interesting thing, and I've never really looked into this, and ask you because you've been in China. They said that the way that America does it is it really tries to market the hell out of everything it tries to do. So, for example, if you go to New York and Manhattan is probably like 2% of the city, but you'd think that the whole of America looks like that, right? Like the tall buildings.
I know. I know, but no.
So they
China
love marketing things and all these kind of things. But the Chinese, from what I've heard, is that they've got all these capabilities, but what's happening is that they're doing the opposite. So they're trying to conceal.
Yeah.
They're trying to play down their capabilities because they're afraid that, well, not afraid, but they're conscientious of
there's a strategy. No, they talk. I mean, I've had the fortune of actually, living and getting trained because I was working in China Mobile. That's why I had to be there.
Yeah.
And Shenzhen, the city, is southeast, right on the border of Hong Kong, right? That city is
that a highly Muslim city? Is it Muslim
no. Muslims are on the western side. Yeah. This is the most advanced city probably in the world. But when I asked China,
in what sense can you explain that?
Technology.
Really,
those buildings are, the way they're actually putting the facilities around the lifestyle of a regular man. It's because to cope with that number of people in a city, you need to
how many are there?
1.2 billion people in China. In Shenzhen, you know what the best part of Shenzhen is? The average age of Shenzhen is 28. So it's the youngest city in the world as well. The only boys and girls live there. So it's everyone's working. Everyone's working. Their car, their home, their kids.
Their work ethic is quite amazing.
No, through their cell phone. Because I was in telecom, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we were trying to do. Sure. Their farming is done through the cell phone. Their Ferraris are run through the cell phone. It's not just their car companies are coming in, which are the smartest cars in the world. I'm telling you, if you run a comparison between BYD and Tesla, you'll be amazed that BYD is going to be way.
I've seen and I heard as well.
Yeah, and BYD is not marketing.
Yeah.
And Xiaomi is not marketing.
You've got a horrible name though, and it's like
that's why.
What's it, the one Dreams thing, or something, is it?
Yeah.
Is that what BYD stands
Build
for?
your dream, right?
Build your dream or something
I
like
wouldn't
that.
know, yeah. So, but
BYD is completely like
it's
blows
giant.
like
It's
a
a giant. Yeah. So let's just say, I'm going to give you an example. China Mobile is the biggest company in the world. But you don't hear China Mobile. You see Apple or Microsoft and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But China Mobile is like 712 billion yuan a year company.
What's that in dollars?
I wouldn't even know. So what I'm saying is it sets the Hang Seng Index. It's not just a big company.
So have they overtaken the United States, do you think?
Yeah, they have.
Really?
Yeah. So the point I was coming at was when I asked these guys, and I'm talking about the CEOs. There are 11 CEOs I'm actually getting trained by at that time. And I'm like, why are you guys not coming out of the world? China, Pakistan is the only country that you actually came out, and there's a company called Zong. That's a China Mobile company which I was working for. And hence I was getting trained in Beijing. And they were like, you know what? It's going to take 100 years. It's like a pact that is already in the dynasty. That unless that, there's a point that we're waiting for, unless that happens within us, we're not going to globalize anything that we have. So we're against that very movement of ZTE and Huawei and all of that stuff, even though they're government-owned companies. ZTE is in England, right? All your towers most of them are literally crafted inside China by ZTE. So they're like, these are commercial ventures to get in the money. Otherwise, this is a strategy not to go out. We're going to have to build in, and we have a timeline for this. And they actually showed me the calendar of how they're going to go step by step. And I'm like, oh my God! And how do you know about it? You're just in telecom. You're not in the government. It's like we're as much of a government as you can possibly see, because we are China Mobile.
So is that a correct analysis then? That they are just downplaying everything they do?
They are. They're by design. They're downplaying it by design, and it's a part of their global mission. They are going to go out. They're going to break loose after a certain objective that they've already set for themselves.
They are.
One of the scholars in Pakistan actually literally wrote about and gives a fatwa that this is Ya'juj Ma'juj. Actually, a couple of them.
What do you think of that?
China? No, I've lived with them, so they're not Ya'juj Ma'juj.
Oh, they're not, no.
I mean, in Hongdong, in Guangdong actually, the CEO was like, you know what, we have a rule. Even the Chinese are scared of us. And I'm like, what's that rule? Like, if it has legs and if it can move, you have to eat it. You have to eat it. It's like they eat everything. One time I went to a Chinese, because I'm a Muslim. No, they're not. I'll tell you why. I went to this halal restaurant, right? I mean, I'm a Muslim and I'm a dignitary. It's like coming in, I'm on a high protocol list. Yeah. And they take me to a halal restaurant. And he says halal in the, it's like some Turkish thing written outside as well. So I'm like, okay, alhamdulillah. And finally, I had been feeding myself on French fries. Yes. And that too, not fried. They were like, I don't know what kind of boiled fries I was eating. And it was 3 or 4 days. So when I found that restaurant, it was in Shanghai, and I went to the restaurant, the first thing I see is that this girl and boy on a date sitting on a table. The table has a little hole on it, and there's a monkey that they've tied, a real live monkey, and they're actually cracking the skull of that monkey and eating the brain in the halal restaurant.
These people could be Ya'juj, man.
No, they're not. They're not Ya'juj Ma'juj. They're not Ya'juj Ma'juj.
Sorry to say, it could be. But I was gonna say, So you were saying this is actually like China versus France. What happened there with Raphael's?
Yeah.
And it was a victory for. Could you say it was China versus the West in a sense? Because
yeah, of course. Actually, it was China against America. Yeah. Let's say it. Yeah. Let's say it. It was. But it was China versus Taiwan. It's not China versus Taiwan, right? It's China against America, right?
You were saying that China is overtaking America, but America's got bases all over the world. And they've got a culture to export, for example. They've got the liberalism. They've got a few ideologies there. They've got Hollywood and stuff. China doesn't have the same thing. So in some metrics, couldn't one argue that, okay, well, China's still got a very long way to go in terms of catching up if they want to catch up with the United States?
Well, if America does not fall on its own face because of the marketing that is done, one big mistake from any mistake, which is of a certain nature, is going to break America's, head right open because it's so out there. You know what I'm saying? You're too exposed. Now, whatever wrong that you're going to do, no matter who does it on behalf of you, you're going to take the fall for it, right? China, I have no idea. Uyghur Muslims, they're killing Uyghur Muslims by the day. And no Muslim talks about this.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because they've actually made sure that, you know what, if there are mistakes, and we're not marketing our goods, so we're also getting away with our bad as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the number of Uyghur Muslims are far more than Palestine or Yemen, or because of the fact that they're so densely populated, right? So, but do we know about them? No. Can we know about them? No. You know, there is no WhatsApp in China. There is a certain app that they have. There was never Facebook in China. They have their own apps, and so they're.
We got TikTok, right?
I think they invented it. I think. Yeah. I wouldn't know because when I was there, I was there in 2016. That was last.
Sure, yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, it's not that they're, foolishly. Naive or unaware of what's going on. Everybody knows about this, and they're running out 1.2 billion people, superpower right now. They're in the Security Council, so they know what they're missing out on. So if they're still not making a reach for it, that means it's by design. And I'm not just saying it because there's no other option. But no, they have all the options. They're purposely not doing it, and the fact that they're structuring themselves so well means that they know what they're doing, and even if they don't do not have 119 countries worth of army bases, but they're still the biggest bully in the world right now. And they can literally, you have no way of you being globally exposed. You do not know two of the replies that this man, VP Singh, gave to Donald Trump, because he does not come out. And that's,
he doesn't care.
That's the absolute Sigma philosophy going on, that, you know what, you keep yapping around whatever you want to do, and still you're going to have to say China in every statement that you say. So Trump says China way more than Korea, and this Chinese guy is silently enjoying all of this. You know what I'm saying?
So let's circle back to Pakistan. What do you think of now? What does this show about the Pakistani army? What does it show about the Indian army? Does it show that the Indian army has been overrated, that they're weak, that they're over reliant on Western?
No. The worst thing that happened to this, because of this, was the Indian Army's rating has to go down, right? The Indian moral high ground cannot save the Indian Army's incompetence here, because their planes got shot down. I'm sorry. You know, no matter how morally correct you are, but you're weak.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You know, it's like Palestine is on a high moral ground, but they're weak. So I'm sorry, India. Just it's all right. Just suck it up. Take it to the chin. You know, just come up with a new strategy. You want to market yourself, then you gotta shoot down a plane or two. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's that simple. But I don't really care how many planes we shoot down. You know, I'm a Muslim. I know these numbers don't really matter. What matters is that I don't want to be a party to a war where a human being is going to be killed, when I know that I'm not 100% sure what happened actually on the ground.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that I did not have access to what actually happened on the ground makes me, I mean, it's a big problem. But the fact that we have been gifted by this thing called Modi, it is such a beautiful gift that every Muslim has, that no matter what he's going to do, he's going to be, making it clear as daylight that this man is like pure evil. It's like Netanyahu, you know what I'm saying? Netanyahu is talking about mu'akhat now. Netanyahu is talking about brotherhood of the Muslims, kick the Gazans out of Gaza, and there's so many Muslim countries, they should have a bigger heart. It's like Netanyahu saying that. So even if he says something right, we know how pure evil by design this man is. That no matter what you do, I am not going to have any kind of dissonance in thinking that, what should I do here? So if it were a straight up guy who's trying to do something right in India, even if it's a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim, that would have confused a Pakistani. But a Pakistani like me, like, if it's Modi on the other side, it's all right, man. Just go ahead. Just shoot down a few more planes. Because that's as jihad as it can get, because the regime of Modi has patrons way more in number. They have not killed as many Palestinians as Modi has killed Muslims in India.
Really?
Yeah, this guy is known as like,
the butcher of...
the butcher of Gujarat.
Gujarat,
Yeah. So it's not just Gujarat. I mean, this guy is running on the RSS machine with his right hand.
That's right, yeah.
That's something which alone in your resume.
Fascist.
Yeah. This alone in your resume is like, dude, you know what? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are, how you are, when you are. Fighting you is a basic thing that we gotta do.
The invisible army that you spoke about.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading or skimming through a book called The Hard Life. I don't know if you ever come across it, but it was like an Englishman. He went to Pakistan.
Yeah.
And from my recollection of the book, I forget the name of the author, but he basically was critical about so many different things. But when he got to the army, he said, no, the army is quite strong, basically. It's a formidable force. Now that you've mentioned this thing about the invisible army, coming in as well, how would that take effect? So give me an example how that would play out. So if these people have not been trained, have they been trained or not been trained? They don't have to shoot a gun. Then what positions would they take on the battlefield?
They were not trained enough on paper, but they still managed to shoot down America in Afghanistan. Like literally. I mean, Afghanistan was run by the Pakistani Invisible Army.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, not all of it, obviously.
Right?
Not all of it, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But I have...
Are you talking about the Pashtus? Or the
Pashtuns? No, the Punjabis and the Balochis and the Sindhis, wherever, you know. Because when it comes down to India, every household is going to, you know...
No, I mean with America.
Yeah, those are mostly Pashtuns.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's all Pashtuns. You can't just, you know, there's so many from every part of the country.
And this might sound, you know, quite, I don't know if it's antagonizing, but would you say that the Pashtuns are the most formidable?
Oh, for sure.
Force?
For sure.
Yeah, in the Pakistani army.
Even the Kashmir, we have the Azad Kashmir, right?
Yeah.
It was freed by the Pashtuns.
Yeah.
The Pashtuns actually had physically come in, beat the hell out of India, got the territory back, and then they go back.
Because the last skirmish that took place between India and Pakistan was Kargil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was that in 2005?
Yeah.
And that one wasn't as favorable as this one.
No, it was way more. See, that's the problem. See, our marketing. That's where we suck at.
Okay.
Kargil was a way bigger victory than this one. This is not in comparison. Why are you kidding me? We had we had more than 600.
The narrative that I heard about Kargil is that they left after they were called
No, there's
back.
a pact. There's a pact. The glaciers in winter, they actually freeze over a way bigger area, right?
Yeah.
So both armies have the pact that they're gonna leave that area. There's not gonna be any fight, and it's a consensus. We agreed upon this. Both the armies are gonna retreat, and then in the summers we're gonna come back and take our posts. The Pakistan army, what they did was when
it was really cold, isn't it?
It is
extremely cold.
60 below something sort of wind. Yeah. So it's too expensive for both the armies to keep those posts alive and working and everything. Plus, it's practically impossible. So people die just because of frostbite anyway. So they had a pact for many years. One fine day, the Pakistan army says, since both armies are retreating, let's just not retreat and let them retreat, and wherever they go, just go behind them and take their posts from within India, which they did. And for all those days, till Bill Clinton came in and talked to his little son called Nawaz Sharif and says, shimmy up, buddy, get your boys killed right now, come back. Otherwise, Pakistan army had already taken over India.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we were 15 kilometers down Srinagar, which is the capital of Indian Kashmir. Okay? We had all of...
And then they went back though, isn't it?
That's the time when India started marketing that they're shooting down Pakistan, because Pakistan army soldiers were ordered to come back, even the soldiers, and I covered that story in detail by talking to those soldiers. We were crying blood at that time. What are you guys doing? Only this guy, Nawaz Sharif only. So that was a way bigger victory in numbers and area and all the resources that we had.
It shows you how possible it is, how
easy it is. Yes.
Yeah, easy it is, to be honest. Pakistan
and China showed it last year how easy it is to take India, right?
Yeah.
China,
what happened?
China took the lower edge of Tibet and beat the actual.
Is it just because a lot of the Indian army, are they cowardly? Is that what
they're very? You know what? This is psychologically not possible to actually protect your, to get that superior psychology based on a piece of land. It's not possible. We're not designed for it. And their whole psychology is like, Mother Russia was the reason of Russian breaking up. The land is not designed by this creature is not from or made for or from any land. This is what I'm saying to all Muslims. You know what? The fact that we cannot be nationalists or be about a piece of land, it is not just for the interest of our faith. It is our organic design not to be attached to a land and try and give your life for it. So Mother Russia is the exact same word Indians use for they call it Mother India. So Mother India is not going to be enough for you to have that sort of a vigor in your blood that you're going to do whatever you can to for it, because
that shows that Pakistan have had many victories against India in the last 20-30 years, different types of, not just the Rafaels being shot down. They've had different types of victories with Kargil as well then.
Yeah, and the fact that we have mathematically they have
much more people,
a lot more people. Statistically, they have a lot more resources.
There's about 200-300 million Muslims as well, though. Let me ask you this.
I'm pretty sure they're more than 400. They just don't count them properly.
Yeah,
Why would they register that? Yeah. In Pakistan,
do you think that the Muslims, what do you think? I don't know how well connected you are with Muslims in India.
A lot, very deeply connected.
So from your understanding, you're speaking to them and stuff, to what extent are they allied to the Indian state as it is, or the government as it is, or what kind of relationship do you reckon they have with them?
There are two types of Muslims, both in India and Pakistan.
Sure.
One who are actually studying themselves into Islam, and ones who will never study anything about Islam.
Yeah.
Most of the people are never going to study anything about Islam, regardless of whether it's Pakistani, Indian, the Egyptians, Yemenis, or whatever, because that's your regular mass.
Yeah.
That regular mass has to be trained into some sort of psychology or identity, which is your nationalistic identity now. So Indian Muslims who are not trained into Islam, they're naturally going to be nationalistic.
Are they?
Just like Pakistanis. Pakistanis are a lot more Pakistanis.
Well, the difference being is that, with Pakistani, let's say that I'm not very religious, but Pakistan itself has like a connotation of Islam because it was...
That's the only play that we have. Otherwise, deep down, they're Pakistani before they're Muslims.
Yeah,
regular mass. Regular mass, I'm talking
being
about.
Connected to the Indian government is probably more severe because it's a Hindutva government. It's like a fascist government. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, in this case, yes.
Yeah.
But for the last 75 years, not every government is Modi's government, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, but they're still nationalistic.
They've all been what? Like nationalistic?
There has to be. They have to be.
There's never been a Muslim Indian president or something, has there?
There have been. Yeah.
In India?
Yeah.
How many have there been?
I can think of one. I don't know. Maybe a couple.
Really?
Yeah, but I know of one. So it doesn't really matter. See, that Muslim guy was the most nationalistic Indian ever born in the planet.
He might as well be just like, Hindutva.
Well, might as well, yeah. But he can't be because Hindutva is way more into the anti-Muslim sentiment than Muslims are for the anti-nationalistic sentiment.
Sure.
So the numbers don't really back you up. But
you think there's more Muslims in India than the numbers show?
A lot more. There are a lot more Pakistanis in Pakistan than the numbers show.
Really, yeah.
We don't register.
Yeah, don't register.
Yeah, we are at least 300 million in
So
Pakistan.
what do you think would happen if, let's say, hypothetically, there was some kind of a war that took place between Pakistan and India, even though now it looks like it's been resolved?
It's going to be a nationalistic war, unless, of course, as I said, that's hence the gift of Modi. Muslims like me are also going to take part in this war because I know it doesn't matter. I mean, Ali bin Abi Talib was asked when he was fighting against Amir Muawiyah, like, both of them are like big names fighting for both the parties. Who's going to decide who's going to go to heaven or hell? And Ali bin Abi Talib says, whoever's fighting for Ali is not going to make it to heaven. Who's fighting for Amir Muawiyah is not going to make it to heaven. Whoever is fighting from Allah, from either one of those, is going to make it. And that's a basic test. So for whoever's fighting for Pakistan is not going to make it. Doesn't matter whether you're Muslim or not.
Yeah.
And there are going to be Muslims fighting for Indian army as well, right? So whoever's fighting for India, I'm sorry, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we have a Muslim government or not. What matters is whether you're actually fighting for the right cause.
Sure.
In this case, this was the right cause to fight India. So it doesn't matter whether you're a nationalist or not, right? But if you die based on that nationalistic flavor, then I'm sorry, Muslims in Pakistan, that's not going to help you. Doesn't matter if Modi is on the other side. Modi is not the deciding factor here.
Absolutely.
Your heart is,
Yeah, you're right. But on the point of the Muslim Indians, so what kind of relationship do you think? Would you say the majority of them are anti-government?
Anti-government, not anti-India.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't expect them to be anti-India, right?
No, of course not. I'm saying anti-government in the sense that they're
it's such a
present government, at least.
The BJP or the RSS flavor of the government. This guy's playing RSS with both his hands, obviously, because he needs the. I mean, why wouldn't you? You're a politician. You need the numbers. This is about 80% of the landscape.
Do you think some of them will become part of the army? Some Muslims will be part of the Indian army?
There are more than 100,000 Muslims in the Indian army. Currently registered.
Active personnel? Or
I wouldn't know that. They would never release those stats.
And do you know their full numbers? Do you know?
They're 900,000. That's what they registered,
What, both active and reservists?
I wouldn't know I think this is something they will publish. The known figure that we have is 900,000. We have 700,000. They have 900,000.
Okay, so let's move on to Palestine now.
Oh yes, please.
So, how do you read the situation now? I don't know if you've seen Piers Morgan and the show here and stuff like that. People, jumping ship and switching sides.
Last time I saw him was on little clips, because the main show that I've ever seen was you and Finkelstein. That's it.
Yeah. Well, they're the best ones anyway.
I know. I swear to God. That is so true.
Yeah.
I seen both of your I saw Dilly's too.
Dilly's
Dilly's good.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
But, now...
I fell in love with Dilly after that,
Yeah.
Oh, the way he was...
amazing.
The way he was tilting his head.
He's done a podcast with Dilly as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, he's now... Do you know, I was just speaking to the guys before, and I was saying that it's like in wrestling, in WWE wrestling, when you have like... they call him a baby face, like a good guy character, and then he switches. He just hits someone with a steel chair or something and becomes heel, or he's a heel and then he switches and he becomes baby face.
Yeah,
but this guy's become baby face. He's now switched to the right side a little bit too late, and so even those people who would otherwise sympathize with him, they just think it's just way too late now.
Yeah, it's too fake now. It seems fake. And I don't want to say he's fake, because, maybe he means well.
Maybe he means well. Maybe he's actually come to the truth or whatever.
But you know what? That's what your appearances and even Finkelstein's, this is a good litmus test of why would he or anybody in his position would do whatever he's doing. Because he's trying to secure a career.
Yeah.
You guys were not securing careers, you know what I'm saying? You guys were securing the institute of haq and batil and the truth and what should be a logical way. This guy is securing a career, man. This guy needs a job. He needs a job. He needs his ratings.
Yeah, his numbers. He
needs them. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's probably one of the main reasons why he switched, because his numbers were dwindling. So it's like, okay, you need to make the switch now to bring interest again into the show, because otherwise, if you continued on the same trajectory, let's be honest, people wouldn't care too much about watching his shows. Like, we've heard you before, but now he's doing something novel. Like, he's bringing the Israeli ambassador, start grilling her. It was actually quite good grilling. I mean, he could have done that from the beginning, and he does the same technique. He just finds 2 or 3 questions that he probably formulates right before the show, or in a restaurant somewhere where he's having his fish and chips, and he'll say, like, for example, why is it the questions he's asking now is, why is it that you're not letting the journalists in? As if that's one of the most important questions.
Yeah, that's like a...
Who cares?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I know. Oh my God, now Netanyahu, now you have revealed your real face.
Yeah.
Yes,
why do we need the journalists? We've got so many social media pictures and videos, and what more do you want to see? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, if you were journalists,
that was
it would
because
probably
it
be
was
worse.
a face-saving thing that he had to come up with something, because I think his own personal circles, they've knocked some sense into him that, you're coming off a little too visible as a puppet of some sort, and you might want to get some spine at some point in time, which he's trying to show now. Yeah. Which hats off to him. As long as he tried to.
But a lot
compensate.
of this, I don't know if you saw this, but there's there's a guy called David Lammy here, he's a politician.
No, I don't know.
And he was lambasting in Prime Minister's questions. He was lambasting Priti Patel, on the issues, and he was saying, why don't you condemn Israel? He was like, I want to condemn Israel, etc., etc. So now it seems to be like a concerted effort or some kind of move. It's a shift. All of them are doing it at the same time. And I was trying to figure out the reason why that is the case. I mean, I don't know if you've got any ideas, but I was listening to the most recent thing between Norman Finkelstein and Benny Morris, who's another historian on the subject and stuff.
I've read him, actually.
Debating. Have you met him?
No, I read him. I recommend his book. His book is actually pretty...
Benny Morris, he's all filled with lies.
No, that's why you need to read it. Yeah. That's why
he's been refuted thoroughly by Finkelstein. But the point is they were going back and forth, and Morgan was asking either of them, like, why is it this happening, and why is it now? And Finkelstein was like, everyone's jumping ship. I'm paraphrasing him, but he was saying that the reason why they're jumping ship is because they know that there's going to be some kind of a extreme genocide that's going to take place. They're going to try and bring them all to the south and basically kill them all or something like that, or some mad thing's going to happen. And Benny Morris was saying, and on this, I mean, I wouldn't usually say this, but I hope he's right, that it's not going to be as extreme as that, but they're basically going to try and colonize the country in a sense and make it all like militarized zones or whatever it may be. So,
which I agree.
Do you think that's more the case?
Because they cannot move close to 2 million people anywhere. There were way less Jews in Germany, and they couldn't move them.
Yeah.
and everybody wanted them, and they still couldn't move them. And nobody wants the Palestinians. Even the Palestinians don't want to move.
Yeah.
So they will have to barricade certain. I mean, you can see circles on the map.
Yeah.
Those circles I can even plot around Jericho, around the Egyptian side, and around. Yeah. So there are circles which are obviously those walls which are non-contiguous, and this is just like tiny little versions of Gaza, 200 Gazas. Based on whoever passes to be inside the wall. And that'll be more of an achievement for that guy who's going to be given food or whatever resources, and going to be managed by Israel directly, by a Muslim like Yasser Arafat as a minister for these sort of circles. That's what I see, God forbid.
Do you think they're going to bring someone from the Khalij, from one of the Gulf states
like MBS?
No, maybe a conglomerate, maybe some guy from Egypt even.
Some guy who's a Harvard graduate but a Palestinian descent.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah. Hence Yasser Arafat, yeah. Some minister, I don't know, could speak Arabic, but you'd have some serious sideburns in that guy. So, I don't know. Could be anybody, but it has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't play. He won't play with Piers Morgans and all that stuff. See, that's where he comes in. That's my classification of Piers Morgan. These guys would okay with this kind of be okaying that kind of solution.
Yeah.
With some kind of pictures coming in for kids having some kind of food.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's why I like Chomsky. He actually,
Finkelstein.
No, Chomsky.
Chomsky, yeah.
Because then there was a time when there was a land swap idea. If you of course if you had covered that part of Chomsky's versus Dershowitz application of the solution in UN, and they were both submitting amendments of the UN policy, and I was covering it while that was happening. I was a student trying to do whatever I could to learn whatever was going on.
Sure.
And there was this land swap opportunity that somehow Israel was saying yes to at that time, that we can swap lands. So Chomsky gave a blueprint of, okay, you want to swap lands, then the connection between two parts of Israel, two parts of Palestine is not there. There is no road that connects. You have to go through a motorway, which is going to put you inside Israel, because there is no motorway in Palestine. And that motorway has to be given to Palestine then. So you might as well just give us that part of the land, which has that infrastructure built. So, and Israel is not going to say yes to that. So there was a list of areas where Israel had said yes to, that you can take these lands and we're going to take Gaza. As soon as they said that, all of a sudden Palestine backed off. It's like, what? This was in the cards? This was not even in the cards. Why would you want to take Gaza? Because we were talking about two small, very small vicinities getting into some sort of connection. So then they actually gave into the map given by Alan Dershowitz. And that's 242, the resolution, which is 242's backdrop is this land swap, failure to swap lands. So when you see that map, you see whatever this guy is talking about right now. Ton little confinement, circular, guarded by a ministry, where only a certain type of food can go in. Everything's monitored. It's like a jail cell, less than a jail cell actually. In jail cell, you get to have some sort of
visitation.
Yeah, you can get visitors. Here, you cannot get visitors, and there will.
That's a good point, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something which was published in. I'm talking about 2004, 5, 6 here, or maybe 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I think this is something which.
So you think they're going to try and take it over and make it?
They've already taken over.
Yeah.
In
but
Pakistan,
there are some pockets and that there's still fierce fighting. So I've seen in Al Jazeera Arabic, Hamas is essentially putting up videos of them blowing up tanks and stuff like that, and fierce fighting and shooting and snipering and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking,
where is this happening?
This is happening in
yeah, I know. That's what I'm. Yeah.
And all this kind of unknown places. And mid kind of Gaza, where they haven't taken over yet.
No, they the last statement of Trump and Netanyahu were like, how to get 1.18 million, 8 million, 7. Arrogantly he's just quoting numbers as if it's poultry. I don't think anyone in the world can get 2 million people out of a piece of land. Nobody can. It's not possible.
Yeah.
200,000 became a crisis for Syria and in the southern European borders, but 2 million people coming in. Let's just say Egypt. What is Egypt gonna do?
They're not gonna take them.
They cannot take them. It's not about they're not gonna. They cannot. So just like nobody can take Ukrainians in Europe, just like that, no Muslim can take Palestinians in. And even if they can take it, no Palestinian wants to go. That's not a Palestinian thing to do, to just, flee. So even if they go, it's going to happen just like what happened to the Jews. Jews were given a passage to Egypt, and then they were called back, and nobody came back. You know what I'm saying? And whoever did come back was mixed, and now they're casted down in Israel because they call it a certain name that I keep forgetting.
Jews
because now somehow the black Jews.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They were like, how can that possibly? And this is a hybrid. It's not prophesied in the Bible. So there are 3 kinds of Jews in Israel, and that second kind is the Arabian Jew, by the way. It's also a second degree citizen, so second grade. This third grade citizen was because somebody did come back.
Basically like
it is a caste system. Actually, they call it the caste system. So unless it's the Haredim, he's not a real Jew, and that's why they don't really go into IDF as well. That Jew does not even enlist for the IDF. He's too pious to fight. And they're running everything else, but they can't go to IDF. So the second class citizen goes to IDF, and third class citizen goes everywhere. So this is what's going to happen to the Palestinians. Whoever wants to go, they will be cut off from our tribes.
That's right.
So why would they want to go? I mean, as nationalistic as it sounds, maybe it is nationalistic for them. I don't speak on behalf of the hearts of the Palestinians, but it's not a Muslim thing to do anyway. I mean, it's like something goes wrong in, which is going on in Pakistan, in Balochistan. Let's just vacate Balochistan then. It's like, this is us saying the same thing. So Balochistan is in trouble. Open the doors of Punjab, vacate Balochistan. Let India take it over.
No, I think that's a very interesting analysis. And we've covered 2 major political points now.
No, the problem that I have right now in Pakistan is that Pakistanis have started to pay into this or feed into this narrative of us or everybody taking Palestinians out of Palestine. Instead of sending the armies in, they're telling the regular citizens to come out. And thinking and literally quoting quoting ahadith and seerah and Nasr al-Albani. That Hijra is, a part of the options, and Hijra is a recommended option in this situation. Now, it's an Islamic flavor they're giving to the diaspora of Muslims inside Palestine. It's like a Muslim saying this about Palestine.
Yeah, and we have the same thing in the Arab world, bro. Like, it's a real problem. It's lack of action. We're going to be asked about this on the Day of Judgment. There's no question about this. It's like, what can we do?
Yeah,
and
of course.
You just have to take the plunge sometimes. You just have to take a risk. And sometimes we think that sometimes it's risky not to take a risk, because I think that with all these,
it's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah,
if you got all these countries, like what is Netanyahu thinking with all of these Arab countries, around, and none of them are doing it. If I was Netanyahu, I'd think, okay, well, these guys are easy meat.
And there's a part of the council of Netanyahu that is factoring in that unpredictable thing that Muslims can do. Even they're thinking that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna.
Yeah, and you
because our clergy is given
say
into
like, no one in the Middle East is doing this and that, and just stay quiet or something like that. It's like, this is like the heights of humiliation, to be honest with you, bro. Like, and you're talking about Pakistan, but really and truly in classical fiqh books, they'll talk about, the closest neighbors having to first engage.
Yeah, but the first fatwa in Pakistan as well, Aqrab, So, like, why are you cutting everybody else the slack of not being a Muslim anymore? But okay, let's just say, mathematically they're way more liable to. But now it's not that fatwa anymore. In Pakistan, our grand muftis gave the fatwa that.
Yeah, like Mufti Taqi Uthmani, who I met, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah.
I was very surprised because he was one of the first scholars he jumped to it. He was like, Palestine.
Yeah.
And he wanted to meet me because of my discussion with Piers Morgan. And he was like, he's very, very passionate about Palestine. That's the kind of thing that's really refreshing in the Muslim world. I think that there is a bit of hopelessness that we also find in the Muslim world, but there's so many strong voices, but it's just like, they're not decision makers. And that's the thing. The Muslim Ummah is alive. They're vibrant. They want to do things, but it's just, they're not decision makers on these issues.
Because our clergy is not a strategy maker. That's the problem.
Yeah.
A regular Joe would be making decisions in his own if we can give. Let's just say Taqi Usmani, right?
Yeah.
If he says, jihad is, you have to do jihad now,
Yeah.
but you have to do the fatwa and then the tatbiq of the fatwa at the same time. That if you don't do jihad, the government, then the fatwa on the regular Joe is that if you are party to this government, then you are questionable on the day of Akhirah, right? This is a complete statement that should have come from Taqi Usmani's mouth.
Say that again, so break it down.
So the government has to do jihad right now in Palestine. Yeah. And if the regular Joe, if the government does not do jihad right now, the regular Joe is liable if you support this government.
If you support it.
Then you're a party
support
to the crime.
On the issues of being inactive.
Being inactive, yes, inactive. Yeah. So a regular Joe doesn't really bother much about whether, because the fatwa was for the government. But the government is me, right? I am making that government. I'm a party to the government. So the tatbiq should have been right there inside that very fatwa. And it should have been a written fatwa issue just like any other fatwa about anything that Taqi Usmani writes. But this time was just a verbal fatwa.
No, it's to be honest, it's so much better than what we've got in other parts of the Muslim world.
Sure. There's fatwas going against Palestine right now in other countries.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But to be honest, it's like, لِيَمِيزَ اللَّهُ الْخَبِيثَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبِ. Like Allah, He wants to distinguish the dirty and the impure from the pure. وَيَجْعَلَ الْخَبِيثَ بَعْضُهُ عَلَى بَعْضٍ فَيَرْكُمُهُ جَمِيعًا وَيَجْعَلُهُ إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ. Like He brings all the khubth together. He brings all the dirt and the impurity together. I think the Palestine issue, like all these other issues that we're talking about as well, the Pakistan issue and the Uyghur issue and all the things we've covered, these really show people's true nature and what they're about, their character.
Yeah, but at least they're visible and they're not fitna, they're shar.
Yeah.
I'm worried about is the fitna that I was actually listening to one of your podcasts where you actually quoted Surah Mumtahina, and that struck me. It struck me so much as a psychologist, I'm telling you. You were quoting رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Now, you know what that actually means?
I read something in Kathir. Did I mention that in the podcast?
No, I wouldn't, because I got a reel, and I was like, oh my God, this guy really nailed it. And I'll tell you why I, as a psychologist...
I saw this thing with, like, Ibn Kathir was mentioning something about this ayah, which is really powerful. He said, رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Oh Allah, don't make us a fitna or tribulation for those who have disbelieved. And he said, and this might be, I might have misread, a long time ago I read it, but he said that means when you as Muslims lose a battle, when you're losing things, the disbeliever thinks that he's on the haqq.
He'd better think like that. That's what my analysis is, because that's the serotonergic behavior. Whoever is reigning, whoever is in power, is natural, more liable, and on a lot of logical basis, right as well, that if you were right, you wouldn't have lost this or be under my command right now. Yeah.
And that's what the Qur'an says as well in Surah Al-Ahqaf, where Allah says, لو كان خيرا ما سبقونا إليه. If it was good, they wouldn't have preceded us before.
Yes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have preceded us.
There you go. That completes the puzzle. Yeah. So the mimicry is done for the alpha. The alpha is also, it has to be in the power. So everyone is going to mimic the alpha. Now, I am, even if I'm right, but I've lost my battle with you, against you, and you, even if you're wrong, you're not going to mimic me.
That's right.
Now, that's why I'm becoming a fitna to you.
That's right. It's a fitna. But it's a huge fitna. Like, do you know, on a very minor level, we've tried this. We sometimes give da'wah, and Ali's here as well. You can testify to this. We give da'wah into areas which are like more working class areas. So like maybe there's a place called Kilburn here in London. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a working class area. There's a brother who was called Dawah is Easy, and he had like a whole channel, and he was like a machine. He was giving, like, I don't know, some days he'd have 10 shahadas a day, like genuinely. And I was there to see it, witness it, maybe 4, 5, 6 shahadas a day. and people were into it because they're from a kind of working class background or whatever. You try the same thing in Fulham or one of those kind of like high end areas, West Hampstead in London.
Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work. You'll be lucky to get one. And I think that mal, or having money or having prestige or being the winner or thinking that you're more educated than the person speaking to you is just too much of a psychological obstacle.
It's called dominance hierarchy.
Yeah, it's too much of a psychological obstacle for some people. So that's the
You're
problem.
against your own chemistry then.
Yeah.
You know? Now, this is what this is what I want to, for all boys and girls who are on their early ages, you better understand this. That Quran is the book of psychology because Allah made us and He knows the machine. And He's talking about this so literally.
Yeah.
So you can't miss it. Even if you want to, you can't miss it. That the dominance hierarchy is going to make the mass mimic the alphas. Now, if the alphas are on any sort of, if they're on the wrong path, then the whole mass is gone. Yeah. So the alpha becomes the fitna for the mass. Right. But let's just say the mass is on the right path. The Quran is with the mass, and we have people like, in my country or wherever, Muslim, or MBS or wherever, these people are having their vision 2030 or 2050 or whatever they think they're going to live out. And they're actually in power. And they've actually confused the haqq with the batil. And for whatever reasons, I'm not saying that their hearts are black. What I'm saying is they just got confused. But they're now in power. So Allah says, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ. We're like, what does that even mean? You know what that means? It means right there in the very ayah, that antum ta'lamun. You knew, and you're doing this concealment by your own accord. You know what I'm saying? وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقِّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. It's like, Allah is talking to the Jews, by the way, here. But here, we know that, if the alpha is confused, the mass is confused.
And that's, subhanAllah, in the Quran, where it's also mentioned, قال الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا إن كنا لكم تبعا فهل أنتم مغنون عنا. So the mustakbirun, or the arrogant ones, the weak ones will be saying to the arrogant ones, we used to follow you, so you're going to reduce us from the punishment. But it shows you, like in the hellfire, this is exactly the dynamic that's
the hierarchy is the same
in the actual hellfire itself. And so it continues all the way to the hellfire.
And that's what even the most atheistic evolutionary biologists are saying as well. They're like, you know what, if the alpha, without his own choice, is going to create his copies downstairs in the mass, and no matter whether he's right or wrong, the copies are going to be the same. They're going to make sure that they copy the alpha. That's what everybody does.
So the solution to that is that Muslim empowerment, then, isn't it?
Muslim empowerment has, or not just the clergy of Muslims has to be in power.
Okay, so explain this now. What's the strategy for that? How do we achieve Muslim empowerment like this?
First of all, when we say power, we mean politics, right? We mean money. We mean connections. We mean high, deeper networks. If this becomes a part and parcel of the mandatory parts of religion, which is in the Quran, by the way. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُم مَّا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ is not a na'udhu billah request. Allah only orders. You know what I'm saying? And it's not an advice.
So that ayah means, just for the people that doesn't.
The ayah means that it is incumbent upon you to muster up whatever you can, all many resources as you possibly can. Do not go weak. Do not give a weaker impression. The Prophet ﷺ, you could tell me the name of the Sahaba because I keep mixing names, who had the biggest mustache, and he was put right in the flank, the first flank of the, every time. I think it's Abu Qatada or Dujana.
Abu Dujana.
Yeah, Abu Dujana.
I don't know if he had a massive mustache.
And then
he put the red bandana and he would fight.
Abu Dujana. So his mustache. Sahabas were like, you know what? It's not Islamic to have that kind of mustache. The Prophet said, no, I made sure that he had that mustache because he's in my first flank. He needs to have that terror struck right in the hearts.
I read the hadith in a different way, where he was walking with a bit of a strut, with a bit of like.
Yeah, because he was complaining because of this his gait. His gait, where he was complaining. But the Prophet said, you know what? No, I need this.
Yeah, exactly.
I need this.
It's not good in any situation except for this.
Because we're actually, at war. And so we need to have that terror struck into the heart because the dominance has to be, casted. You're not going to just have dominance. It has to be casted.
And that's on every single level. Like, people, I think they miss this because, and this becomes like, the issue of soft imams or whatever you want to call them, docile or passive or kind of, placid. Where the
Carcinogenic is what I call them.
Estrogenic.
Yeah.
No, but
you know what? That's actually true. To many imams that you're going to find, if you do background profile, you're going to find estrogen full. Maybe they have 5 big sisters and raising a little pup. You know what I'm saying?
No, but it's a thing because I saw it. Actually, not to say that you shouldn't do that, and obviously, spend a lot of time with my own children. I've got 4 children myself. But there's a study that was done, I think, in the Philippines that say when you spend time with kids, your estrogen levels just shoot up. If you spend time with kids all the time, your estrogen levels shoot up.
Yeah, they're better.
So,
oxytocin and estrogen both. Yeah.
So I mean, you've got to do something about this. You've got to go to the gym. You've got to run around. You've got to be with men a little bit.
Hang out with the boys. That's what I tell mommies. Hang out with the boys.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I did a background and check on a few of Muslim scholars in Pakistan because I wanted to study why are they they're picking out ayahs, which is going to serve their objectives or their narrative.
Bad, especially at this time. And this is the thing, it's like I was looking at Surah Shu'ara, and it's a beautiful surah. And at the end of the surah, there's إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَانْتَصَرُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا ظُلِمُوا. So before that, it was talking about the poets, that the poets are misguided, etc., etc. And then this last ayah, literally the last ayah, and I was looking at tafsir, except for, and I gave an exception to the poets, the ones who believe and do good deeds, and وَانْتَصَرُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا ظُلِمُوا, that they sought victory after they were oppressed. So I wanted to see what does this mean, sought victory after them. And they said in context of the poets, they're the ones who respond in poetry after the poetry has been attacked. Today, the poetry equivalent is social media. It's the media, it's social media, it's all these things. And how did the Prophet ﷺ instruct Hassan ibn Thabit and all the other poets to deal with the enemy? Was it in a passive way? Was it in a soft way? No, it wasn't. It was exactly how they attacked. So, for example, in Surah Hud, where Allah says about Nuh, that He says, "In taskharu minna fa inna naskharu minkum kama taskharun." If you mock us, we're going to mock you just like the way you mock us. So there's that matching energy thing. Right now we're in...
No, it's not dramatic at the same level. Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah.
You cannot, play in a smaller league than what the enemy is playing in.
Yeah.
That's...
it's like that underdog complex. We don't need to be underdogs. We're not under. We have the haqq. We have the truth. And it was that confidence, like Alasna al-Haqq of Umar ibn Khattab and others. It was that brought Islam to the world. If you don't have this now, you're going to die off like a dying breed.
And you know what? The liberals are doing a good job in every country, Muslims, trying to claim superiority of their own, whatever nation that they're in.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Muslim clergy is trying to play this little, we call it the Rahib card. You know the Rahib in Arabic, right? The guy who's got nothing. And
like a monk.
Like a monk, yeah. Monk. They're trying to make the monk, they be the monk, and they're virtue signaling their monkship.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Man. And that's literally...
Enough is enough, bro. Enough is enough, honestly.
No, it's a Muslim psychology now that if you're going towards the money or the resources, you're less of a Muslim. That's ingrained inside the psychology
and I
of
think
Muslims.
it's a false understanding of zuhd.
Yeah.
Because
it's the exact opposite
hadith
understanding
of the
zuhd.
Prophet when it says that إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَنْ يَرَى أَثَرَ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَى عِبَادِهِ. That Allah likes to see the effects of His blessings on His servants. And when I looked at the shuruhat of this hadith, it says that it means that if Allah's giving you wealth, why are you walking around? Basically, if you wear something nice, if you wear good clothes, if you wear this and that, that's Allah likes to see that from you. So there is an aspect of, I think, zuhud, which is commendable, but there's an aspect which we've misunderstood. And at this point in time, when we're actually battling the enemies, the greatest zuhud is a struggle against
a strong struggle. Actually,
that's what
you're not
going to get more zuhud than this.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. There's no more zuhud than that.
So the hierarchy is there.
Yeah.
And unless we change the definition of its current definition of Islam, it's not going to come as a religious movement anyway. And that will be a way bigger fitna for the religious Muslims. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. Why do you think these two clans became min dun Allah? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they were given the the hierarchical position.
Yeah.
And we've given that to our clergy.
Yeah, that's true.
And our clergy is like, you know what, we don't deserve it. Let's just give the award to our parliamentarians. So there is no religious man that can ever walk the into the building of our parliament house. We cannot. Or the general headquarters of the army. You cannot. It's not going to happen because the system is wired to filter out the religious element from the basics, be it politics.
So the religious men need to rebrand then. They need to have a...
No, redefine.
Yeah,
We need to rebrand. Yeah, that's where you come in.
Yeah.
You have no idea. I'm not trying to boast your ego here.
No, you can't do it. It's okay, it's fine.
I know. Maybe it's overinflated already. Listen, you are probably the only way I can brand. Okay?
It is really,
But listen, but even if you or 100 more hijabs come in, they're not going to redefine a Muslim's Islam in Pakistan or Indonesia.
Yeah,
a local clergy is going to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how the system works. That's how serotonin works.
It's got to be someone that looks like you.
And is
like you.
from within you. You know what I'm saying? Plus, he's got to have that sort of an emotional flavor of a degree.
Yeah.
We came up with a degree in Islam as well. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a degree in Islam. You know what I'm saying? It's like Ali bin Abi Talib went to some university in their minds, or Abdullah bin Masud was a graduate from some university, because we have them now. So okay, given that we have some degree programs, I got it. Take it.
Yeah.
But you need to redefine power back into Islam.
So okay, give me some strategies now, like practically for a person that's watching this at home.
Let's diagnose the disease first.
Yeah.
The intoxication of the false perception of haqq.
Okay.
And it's very intoxicating. We're designed for haqq. Muslims or non-Muslims. Human beings are moving towards the truth, no matter in what realm that they live in, breed in, move in. But their journey is towards, from a lower sense of psychology to a higher sense of psychology. And nothing gives you a higher sense of psychology than you knowing that you're on the truth. Whether you're in, South America or 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, yesterday, or 200 years from now, every human being is naturally disposed towards walking towards the truth. Yeah. No one wants to be known as a dumb person or on the wrong side of things. Sure. And that's your natural move. That's the only absolute commonality between all human beings that were ever born.
Yeah.
So that's the definition of our species. That's why Allah Azza wa Jalla uses the word haqq so many times. That I made you a driver towards the haqq. You're naturally going to go towards this. That's the fitrah, and that's also my manifesto for you as well. So, wala talbisu al-haqq bil-batil. That means you purposely...
Mixing.
Yeah, mixing is the word. But then Allah says, وَتَقْتُمُوا. You need to understand this. You know Arabic. Pakistanis don't know Arabic. So taqtumu means by design they're hiding it. You know what I'm saying? Taqtumu means nothing else except that you know and you're still doing something else. Because Allah says, in kuntum wa antum ta'lamun, that you know and you purposely shadowing it or hiding it because there's some vested interest,
social pressure or something.
Vested interest, vested interest. In a regular mass, you cannot have that because regular mass is pure. Whatever my clergy says, I'm going to go for it. But the clergy knows. That's why Allah says, "Ittakhadhu ahbarahum wa ruhbanahum." Like, why these two? Why not the politicians here? Why not the leaders? You know what I'm saying? So this is the hierarchy of the people following the Qur'an.
Yeah.
So now, people like you or Umar Suleiman or Mufti Menk or Taqi Usmanis. I'm not. I loved your humility, but you need to understand. Taqi Usmani does not even have 10%. I'm not saying 1, but 10% of the reach in regular mass in globally. That you think you won't matter. You will be questioned on the day of judgment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And that's the first question did you not know the landscape? Were you not a part of this war? You were not born in the time of peace. You were born in the time of war. So what was the game plan? Were you a bishop or a rook or a pawn? And even if you were, which side were you fighting on? Madinuka. Madinuka. That's the second question of the grave. Madinuka means which system were you part of?
That's right.
In Pakistan, Madinu guys, answer is Islam. It's like, really? Madinuga means, were you a party to what system? Like, and define it. So if I'm not looking at the landscape, measuring and training every child, this is the landscape, buddy. You need to redefine as clergy and rebrand as a mass. And if you're not doing both those things, which, by the way, you can do both. I can't do both. You can do both. So you'll be twice as accountable. You know what I'm saying?
So give us some more of like actual practical. So the first one is تمييز الحق, doing exactly, and do not do kitman of al-haq.
Kitman, yeah.
Do not conceal the
first
truth.
question audience will be asking is, do boys, really, two boys are going to tell me that 200 years of my clergy with white beard and millions years of cumulative experience, you know that they were doing kitman and you know the truth? You know what I'm saying? That's a normal and natural disposition. If you're asking this question, you've already taken step one. You do not have to listen to us. Just read the Qur'an and read the Seerah. You'll find out that there is not even a single iota of an example from the life of the Prophet ﷺ or any Sahabi that the current clergy is living right now. And every single Sahabi was moving towards growing the network, gaining the power, and making sure that going towards every part of the world, trying to save every single bits of humanity and saving the oppressed by the oppressor and by fighting the oppressor, even if they have to. And they had to, and they did. And we're actually the exact opposite. Palestine is a symptom of this very disease. Palestine could not have come at a more beautiful time to train the generations that, you know, it's what?
An inflection point.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I call it the point of no return. Because if we go immune on Palestine, that means no Pakistan or Egypt or Yemen or anything. No one is going to save nobody now. Yeah. So it is right now the time to redefine for Muslims that, you know what, even if they're not doing kitman, I'm telling you they're doing, talbisu is a totally different degree.
What's that one?
Yeah. The what now? I'm sorry?
What did you just say?
When Allah says, Wala talbisu.
Okay, talbisu.
So talbisu is a totally different degree of a crime, but taktumu is a totally different criminal. You know what I'm saying? He's doing it he's not confused. Talbisu could be confused, but taktumu is like you did it on purpose. You knew what you were doing. And inna alladhina yaktubuna ma anzalallahu min al-kitab means they knew that these people, because Allah goes on and says that they were just selling it so that they can get some sort of gain. Yeah, and Abdullah bin Abbas goes so much so that he says, whatever this planet and whatever is this planet is Samanan Khalila.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so you're like, don't argue. This planet or whatever is in this planet, it's Samanan Khalila because of this ayah. Now, when Allah says, it was going in their stomachs, which means that there's some monetary gain. But let's just keep that aside for now. My point is very clear that it is, Maghdubi alayhim became Maghdubi alayhim because they did this. Now, we're doing the same things because of whatever pressure that our clergy is going through. I do not want to comment on,
some of it is quite like legitimate. So
that's why I can't comment on, everybody's. No, but it's, by the end of the day, you became a clergy. That's by choice. You now cannot complain.
That's true as well.
Yeah. It was not like, some angel came and chucked you into...
It's true, because like what it is, do you know in these books of which, like books of what it means, like usul, and they say the shurut of mujtahid.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I've come across a lot of classical sources, and this is probably underreported, like, say, a mujtahid has to have ilm, has to have taqwa, okay, everyone knows. But what they actually really have to have, a lot of them say this, is jur'ah, and they have to have bravery. Yeah.
Courage, yes.
Yeah. Because if you don't have, that's the prerequisite for, Aristotle went as far as to say that bravery is the most important virtue of all of them, because without it you can't do anything. So if you're getting into the business of making ijtihad and you want to be an Islamic scholar and stuff like that, you're going to have to be ready to say things that are going to put you in prison, or even worse,
get you killed. That's it. That's the first thing do you
know what though? I really think that because we're not living in an age where there's a great war or because there's no some Great Depression or something that's happening. People are not like bravery is something you have to train. People don't realize this. You think you cannot. There's no way you can have bravery theoretically. You have to train it, and you have to put yourself in very.
I have the exact opposite. I have the exact opposite perspective.
Yeah.
Allah has given bravery as a preset, attribute in every child. We train people out of courage.
Well, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the herd psychology. And the fact that we can see science in every household, every child, everywhere, regardless of whatever SEC or whatever religious ethnicity, no matter where you go, and in whatever time, you can see kids taking the risk.
That's true.
And we train them out of it.
That's interesting, yeah.
And that's what, otherwise, you know what, if we're to be trained into, then the Qur'an would have been for everybody. It would have been only for the brave. But Qur'an is for everyone.
Bravery is fitra.
Fitra. It is inside the fitra. It is ingrained inside the
And what's
fitra.
happening is that society corrupts that.
Not just society.
Because we're not training it, or because
Yeah. In other words, yeah. But see, you have exceptions like Sayyid Qutb or Maududi, who did not come from a religious background and went into religion. Most of the clergy is from the religious background. It's generations and generations over a household full of religion, acumen, knowledge, training, and everything. So when courage is missing in that segment, that's an abnormality. You know what I'm saying? That means it's done by design and it's done, with certain consistency. Otherwise, it would not have happened. So I did the profile check on a lot of Muslim scholars in Pakistan as a psychologist. I studied them without even publishing. No one ever has seen me talk about this. Is the first time I'm talking about this. And
Cutting edge.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
News,
it should be the highlights of this video. So, because I did not have access to names in Egypt or Yemen or Arab or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm a big fan of Salman al-Auda, big fan. Abdul Aziz Tarifi, big fan. But their backgrounds, they're exceptions to the rule. In Pakistan,
Even Mohammed Munajjid is Islam QA.
yeah.
If you read some of the stuff about he's under house arrest now, but his son was killed by someone, and then he forgave him and stuff. He's had some mawaqif as well. He's very powerful.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. He forgave the guy who killed his son. He said, "I'm doing it for the sake of Allah." These mawaqif, these issues and stuff, they really cement for me, you can't just have ilm. You have to have mawaqif like that. You have to have that as well.
True. That's very big.
Yeah.
So you see the psychological lift, you will find out that, these guys are consistent with their background.
Yeah.
So we need Muslims, that's where you come in. People who are listening to you are not just from the religious clergy. Their lineage is free of religion, actually. You know what? They're movers and drifters here and there. And they stick to logic, they stick to appeal, they stick to charisma, they stick to whatever. And people with charisma, with logic,
Which is why they're watching Mohammed Hijab. We're giving them all what they need.
So to strike modesty off the resume.
Yeah, go on.
So these are the people who are going to naturally gain careers and power. As ironic and as sad as this truth is, but the next 5-6 generations, because of the pattern of the religious households, are not going to come into power.
Yeah.
And the fact that they do not define it as part of Islam, that's the reason. That's the base of the reason. And you can see the symptoms all over the place, but the cause is the definition, right? So people who have already have aspirations to power and careers and money and finances and network and all of that lobbying recipe, they are already in your bank. They just needed the virtuous side of it. They wanted to be the hero of the movie. Now you're actually calling them, you're giving them the energy of the Quran. Now, if Muslims had the energy of the Quran to go into physics and mathematics, they would have done.
And they did.
Because the Quran was pushing them. There was a virtuous thing to do. Nobility was physics. Nobility was mathematics. Nobility was biology. Now, nobility, you cannot be noble and a money machine at the same time. There's a catharsis going on in every millionaire in Muslim lands, thinking that he's got to compensate for his money to do a lot more Islamic things, as if he's committed a crime. He's got to compensate for it. Abu Huraira started as Ashab al-Sufa, and he became a millionaire. Abdul Rahman bin Auf had to borrow the axe that he went after the Hijrah. He became a billionaire, not just a millionaire. people knew that, progress is part and parcel of taking over whatever they can in whatever time that they're born into. And every single Sahabi was a man of the army. So courage had already been a part of their life and, a practiced virtue in day in, day out. Here, we have to go to the gyms, go to MMA classes and do whatever. And the least courageous of all of our nations are the heads of our armies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's an exception to the rule. I mean, it's an ironic thing to know that the religious clergy is 70 plus and the army generals are 70 plus in Muslim lands. These were the two professions in Islam, or even in old age in Macedonia. You choose these, you're going to die young, buddy. So that was for the honor and the courage. So serotonin was aligned naturally, normally, and organically. Now, if you need to live long, you got to join the army. You got to go to the clergy. You're going to be 80-year-old, you're going to have a stable life or whatever. And this is the problem, because if you're defining Islam right, people are going to come in Islam even if they want to take a risk. But they know what the risk is going to be. Right now, if you want to live a stable life, you're going to be a little bit of Islam and a lot of the American dream. You know what I'm saying? And you and I both are trained into that. If I'm going towards the American dream, that means, I've left Islam already. I've divorced a big part of my value system. Even though the American dream is just a manifestation of the power in this planet. For you and your family only, but power in this planet. And that is a part and parcel of being a moment as well. Because remember Umar Khattab saying, what, save me. Oh God, save me. 𝙈𝙤𝙪𝙨 from min who? Min the Qawi Kafir and the ظَعِيف mu'min. And the ظَعِيف mu'min is not about just a weak in faith. The ظَعِيف mu'min is that guy who's, living on welfare in every country that he's ever going to live in. He's a pest.
I think a big part of the thing, and you speak a lot about this as well, we spoke about it last time we done the podcast, is where people now, if you want to put it this way, like how they get their dopamine. And because you've got phones and you've got addictions everywhere, people are vaping, people are smoking, people are watching this, and it's like literally addictions are everywhere. They're getting their dopamine from all of these other sources, and they're not hustling, they're not going out, they're not doing things that would make them money, or they're not going to do educational stuff, they're not getting their dopamine from reading books, and they're not getting their dopamine from lifting weights, they're not getting their dopamine from putting themselves in a scary situation. They're getting their dopamine from shows on TV, on movies, and pornography and all this kind of thing, and that's it. Smoking vapes, the whole day is them getting their dopamine from elsewhere. What is the remedy for this? How would you, first of all, as a strategic way, deal with someone who has any of these addictions that we've mentioned?
No, well, the problem that it's not dopamine. The problem is serotonin.
Okay.
If the serotonin is not aligned to a bigger purpose, you're not going to find dopamine through the journey. So whatever purpose that they've aligned themselves into, most of people do not have a purpose. That's hence the bums and the couch, dwelling for tens and tens of years. And they think they're actually lucky, in some part of their mind, they're actually, grateful for the fact that they don't have to work, or their fathers had the money and whatever. So the fact that there is need for realignment of the serotonergic behavior of how an organic man is supposed to live versus a bum. That's not a dopamine addiction he's putting him in the couch. There is lack of serotonin that's putting him in the couch. He's finding dopamine he's going to find dopamine in whatever lifestyle he's going to live into.
So what's the solution here? What does he do?
First of all, we define the word honor differently. We define the word virtue differently. We define the word man differently, for example. Man is a word of honor, right? Being a man is not a dopaminergic statement. It's a serotonergic statement. No one wants to be a man and say, I'm getting dopamine because I'm a man. No, you're getting serotonin if you're a man. You're being called, you're the man. You know what I'm saying? So if you get some sort of, you define the right attributes into the word honor, a man or a woman naturally is going to move towards it. But The problem is that me defining is not going to be enough. You defining is not going to be enough. You need enough number of people, giving that, implicit consensus to the word honor. And that's why jama'ah. So if there's enough people, Allah's hand is in the hand of jama'ah, not on individuals. So if the right definition is there and the right number of people start to come in, every child is going to get honor of being in that group. And that's where the definitions come from. So some scholar, some philosopher, some thinker is going to define it. And B category, which is the bridge between mass and this thinker, that B category is going to inculcate it and spread it and propagate it. And that's when the mass is going to change its lifestyle and become, do-gooders and, do-righters actually. And not just gooders, they do the right thing. And that's when the change is going to happen. That's why clergy, that's why I'm, so critical against, clerics in America right now, Muslim clerics.
Really?
I think they're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Really well.
They are such a big part of the problem
You don't
because
want to mention any names, like.
I'm not. You want me to? I win,
No.
but I'm not gonna.
Get in trouble.
Yeah. But
I can arrange a podcast between you and Daniel, my friend Daniel Hakikachi, who'll be very happy to.
Sure, do that. Yeah. No, I like him already.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually like Daniel. I don't have to agree to whatever he says, but I absolutely love the guy. He's got a sharp blade, and he's got a very clean follow through. He's not just speaking on the fly. He's actually trying to do. And if he ever gets to listen to this, or when you talk to him, pay my regards. I think we need more Daniels in every part of the world, especially because liberal clans have their Daniels. There's a challenge, there's a critique going on, there's, journalism, which is calling out the bluffs of governments and all of that. Religious factions do not have the people who are going to, call you out, who are going to, try and check up on you. And that's what's killing the Muslims right now. We just, if a bearded guy says something, if he's got a long enough of a name, I will think that it's coming directly from the Prophet ﷺ. It's not. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me give you a little insight as to where I'm coming from. See, as a psychologist, the biggest miracle as a psychologist I've come across is the life of the Prophet ﷺ. I'll give you a little math here, okay? More than 6,600 ayahs came in less than 10 years. Okay, because the first 3 years, only one Surah Al come in. 3 years it took for Surah Mudassir to come in, right? So it's not 23 years, it's 20 years. It's less than 20 years, actually. So that's about 600 years for 6,000 ayahs. Okay? Close to 700 years for 7,000 ayahs. You need to understand the life of a man who's a husband, who's a father, who's a leader, who's a politician, who's a warrior, who is a friend, who is walking around the street looking at kids, loving them as well, but making those decisions. And at the same time, wahi is coming just about every ayah on average. You see the balance of how this personality has to show and transit through profiles per second. He has to transit through a profile per second because he knows that, everything I'm going to do is going to be written about and being followed as a guarantee to Jannah. A literal guarantee to Jannah. And anyone does anything other than what I'm going to do is a guarantee to hell. Imagine the weight on you and me talking, and the way I'm sitting, the way I'm talking, the way I'm looking at you is being recorded and is being part of a religion of billions of people. And anything else in addition to this is a bid'ah. Anything less than that is not a hasana. The exact copy has, it's like a microscope and a telescope, a million microscope and million telescopes on you all the time. During this time, you have to be a husband, you have to be a brother, you have to be a father, you have to be a friend, and you're a public speaker. You have a baddu, and as low of an intellect as a Padu who does not know from left to right, and at the same time Ali bin Abi Talib and Abdullah bin Masud listening to the same sermon at the same time. Imagine what you have to balance.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And imagine that you have munafiqeens who are going to pick on any and everything, and they're going to twist it, and they're going to use that part of your speech as a certain prerogative to dismantle whatever your movement is.
Yeah.
So I can't even do the math, and every single day I start putting new, equations in as to how a man would be balancing all of this. In less than 20 years, you have to start and finish the biggest project in the history of the universe, and the enormity of the project at the same time.
Yeah, that's
imagine
when you put it that way.
Because he knew the enormity of the project. And not just that, he knew the literal enormity. It's not a figure of speech. He was taken to the Maraj. He was shown the enormity of the project.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my ustad, he was Yemeni. He was like, he was like, one time he told me when I was a kid, and he said, you know what? Imagine the sensitivity of being in the shoes of our Prophet ﷺ. It's like, what do you mean? He said, you know what? One time the Prophet ﷺ was sitting in Masjid Nabi, and he stretched both of his legs like this, and Jibreel Amin whispered that, "Oh Prophet ﷺ, Allah is watching you even in your most private of moments." And the Prophet ﷺ folded his leg back again. Imagine that pressure now. So why I'm telling you is that so that we can actually, if we can get a seerah presented to the regular boy, the definition of Islam is going to change automatically. We will bisect the clergy right where we can. You can, obviously. I can't. You can. And you can place the Prophet ﷺ inside the minds of the boys and girls, and they'll redefine honor themselves. See, the fact that I can actually prove, and you'll back me up on this, is that Prophet ﷺ is not dependent on the Muslims to go inside the hearts of the next generation. Allah is doing it himself. If it were up to us, we never talk about him as much as we should. But still, every Muslim child is in love with our Prophet ﷺ. That means it's a miracle. It's a miracle bigger than anything else. So if this miracle is going to keep on happening, is going to keep on happening by Allah's accord, that means you and I can become a channel to that miracle and bisect this problem, this cancer that I'm talking about in the clergy, and redefine Islam through the Prophet ﷺ directly. And people are going to gain power, people are going to gain leadership, people are going to gain charisma, people are going to gain the sense of understanding how to talk to the people, a big crowd, trying to actually balance the people who are jealous of you and people who love you and are so blind that they shouldn't be so much in love that they're blindly following you. At the same time, these two extremes and going through the problems that we're actually going through right now. So if you can get
maybe we can do maybe some kind of like a psychological seerah.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
If I had said that, people would have thought, occupational hazard, man. This is what I had to say. But if you said it, that's why I said you have to
we've
teach.
done an intellectual seerah for Sapiens.
I know.
It's more like kind of
philosophy of things.
Yeah, proving why Islam is true. But this is an interesting angle.
So much so that boys will be trained into behaving like him. Because in philosophy, as much as I love philosophy, which because that's
you deal with that as well.
Yeah. But it does not, pan into, seeing behavior in the audience.
Yeah, of course.
Psychology is going to see results, show you results right away.
I was even thinking about collating all the ayahs in the Qur'an that describe the human being in psychological terms.
I did. And I'm going to give it to you. I did that, yeah.
Have you done that already?
Because of the angle of psychology.
Yeah,
Allah is addressing insan as insan.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's so beautiful because Allah has never praised insan.
Exactly. Yeah. Never. There's not one ayah in the Quran that praises insan. إن الإنسان لربه لكنود. What do you call it? إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا. He's anxious. He's panicked. He's
impatient. He's
عجول,
always fighting.
He's ضعيف. خلق الإنسان ضعيفا. He's كنود. He's greedy actually.
Yeah, greedy.
So there's so many things there that there's never a generalized praise of a human being.
When I said that and I actually opened that, a lot of people started bashing me. خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. Whoa, that's the praise of Allah creating insan, not insan.
You're correct on this. I actually looked at and thought about this. Whenever the human being is spoken about, like in his own terms, it's always a weakness.
Yeah.
But whenever he's spoken about in any positive terms, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, or for example, we have dignified human being, or we have علمه
It's the
البيان.
ata. It's the ata. It's not
Allah's given it. So he's never giving that praise solely to the human being.
Not even once. This karamna bani Adam means we have given you. You didn't deserve it. We gave it. And after this ayah ends at كَثِيرٌ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا. That means don't be. You're not the center of the universe, buddy.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
No, this is a very interesting observation. But just things like this is like, I know that people are watching this and thinking, well, that's a very pessimistic religion. Maybe it's a religion that sees the human being as a very we are dignified only through Allah. Is the message?
Yeah,
we're given power and izzah and all the good things only through Allah. In fact, Surah Al-Fajr is very beautiful. فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانَ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ. The human being is that when he's given good things, he's like, yes, I'm boastfully saying, Allah has given me such and such. وَمَا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. And then when his provision is constrained, he says, Allah has humiliated me, and so on.
Yeah.
So the point is a human being has these proclivities, and what Allah is trying to tell us is, beware of this. There's a famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says about women that ناقصات عقل ودين. And it also is mentioned that they yakfurna al-ashir, that they are very ungrateful in marriages and stuff. And for some reason, some people think this is a very controversial thing. The whole human being is considered to be ungrateful, not just women.
Yeah.
The men and women are, in the Qur'an, is considered to be ungrateful.
Yeah.
And that's why Allah gives us then, all these incentives. وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you're thankful, then I give you more. وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ فَإِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. And if you're not, then my punishment is very severe. So when you look at these are the negative things. It's like Allah has created a machine. He's telling you what all the negative points of that machine is. Beware of this, beware of that, beware of this, beware of that. You have to fix this machine in these ways. And that's what we have to do. And wallahi, I think it's a very beautiful task. I would like to see your notes on this as well. Like if someone were to go through the whole Qur'an and just do a psychological tafsir or tadabbur, let's not even call it a psychological tadabbur of the ayat of the Qur'an, and then also doing the same thing with the seerah. That would be a new, novel and original thing that I don't think anyone has really done a great job in. So
it's not, and even if either one of us is not doing it, everyone's listening to this. I'm telling you this. That's the basic job. Someone's got to take up this project.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's not it's not an option anymore because we're talking about definitions, and that's philosophy. Okay, we're talking about aligning the reality of what Islam needs. That's philosophy. But what you got to do as a girl or a boy, that's psychology. Okay, and unless there is a manual, everyone's not going to be able to come into the zone or be able to do it. So some thinker, some writer, especially IMS, I'm telling you this right now, this is the foremost project. IMS is our Islamic messaging system, the project that we're doing, inshallah.
Well, tell people about this.
IMS is IslamicMessagingSystem.com. It's a free project. Muslims are coming in all over the world, and they're discussing the 4 categories of Allah Azza wa Jal, when Allah the category that Allah Azza wa Jal actually split the whole era of human beings into, the way He, delivered the message, and then in the final era is our Prophet ﷺ, which he combines all 4. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتٍ وَيُعَلِّمُ الْكِتَابَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. All 4 are in our Prophet ﷺ. Before that, till Ibrahim alayhi salam, there was no Yuzakim. There was just Yatlu alayhim ayat. But Ibrahim alayhi salam started the Yuzakim era and combined obviously the Yatlu alayhim ayat. And then the Yu'allimul Kitab started with Musa alayhi salam. When Musa alayhi salam was given the Kitab the first time, the ruling came in and the whole Sharia was established. And Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam is the first man who stood up and says, Allah gave me hikmah. You know what I'm saying? And Prophet ﷺ, Allah Ta'ala in the Qur'an says, in Surah Jummah I'm talking about, that this is a prophet that I'm giving you from you, O Meccans. They're all 4 in one. All of this humanity that we've actually come up to, this all in one is given to you right now. So Yu'alimul Kitab is the law, the Qur'an is, Yatlu alayhim ayat is all of the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal. And ironically, since you speak Arabic, tell the Pakistanis and Indians that Yatlu alayhim ayat does not mean reciting the ayahs of the Qur'an. It means to follow the signs of Allah and find out and decode the Qur'an. And that's what the prophets, Prophet Adam alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam, Shis alayhi salam, Idris alayhi salam most of all, and Hud alayhi salam, Salih alayhi salam, everybody until the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, these prophets were training their nations to decode the signs of the universe, the spoken word of Allah. The written word came in through Musa alayhi salam, obviously through different prophets at the time as well. But Yatlu alayhim ayat means, ayah means the code or the sign or the cipher. Now you have to decipher it and present it to human beings, which we are using physics or mathematics now, or science. Technology.
Allah says,
Here you go. And see, Allah says, see, and in Surah Nuh or Surah Qamar, correct me, when Allah says to the Prophet, the people of Nuh Islam, can't you see up in the heavens? Now, did they have a telescope? How did they see? Allah is not using a metaphor here. Allah is actually literally saying, can't you see in the heavens? Tara means you see with your eyes. So, those signs were being decoded by Nuh alayhi salam right there. And that's the flood came on this planet. We can't be talking about the flood. We're talking about when Allah is telling them to point up to the heavens. And Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Sahih hadith says that the flood of Nuh alayhi salam came from Majra, the galaxy. This is a Sahih hadith. This hadith is quoted from a book which is called the Book of Sahih Hadith, collection from all 6 books. Really? So yeah, but this another turk for the hadith is from Abdullah bin Abbas as well. He's talking about Majra, the galaxy, and where the flood came in.
Look at the chains for that one.
Yeah. No, let's just assume that they're weak. But 1400 years ago, somebody was thinking on these lines.
It's still interesting. Even this week I'll be interested.
Yeah, plus it's not a mawdu hadith. Worst case scenario says da'if hadith, right? So da'if hadith doesn't mean that we can just reject it outright.
Yeah. Still play around with it.
Yeah. So plus when on the hadith of Maraj, which is the Muslim hadith, the one hadith that we have,
yeah, sure.
Prophet saw water, 4 reservoirs of water coming in from the base of Sidratul Muntaha. One is Nile, one is Euphrates, one is the springs of Gihon in Israel, under the Masjid al-Aqsa. Okay, but it flows through under, but it's 350 feet southeast, where the city of David is right now. And the 4th one is dried up, and it was in Arabia. So the water is coming down from somewhere. Obviously, there has to be some connection. It's not a miracle going on. It's a process going on. Obviously, it's a miracle of Allah, but it's a process. So Allah is telling us to go up in the heaven and see. Hence, when I say that NASA is doing half the job already, they're not doing it right for the right purpose anyway. But I want them to find out the voices of Muslims narrating those signs.
Yeah, because even to be honest, I was watching Earth from David Attenborough. It's a beautiful show, man. I have to say, I'm not going to lie. The way they go out and stuff and the sea and stuff.
Heard
unbelievable show. Yeah. And the stuff that they show in the animals and the insects, really, it shows you the signs of Allah everywhere.
Yeah, but we need to present those signs, not like a monk, but as a...
Yeah, because they got Attenborough, the atheist, doing it.
Literally, yeah. And they're doing a good job doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And Muslims are like, in awe. And,
yeah.
And this is, and I don't want Muslims saying, we told you so. You didn't tell them so. They're telling us so.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
We should be at
we should have been, precedence has to come from us.
That's right.
And it was 1400 years ago. It's so, and there's so much, because I'm known for this sort of thing. So most of the people you have to go through a lot of work, which I'm trying to actually tell Muslims to come into mathematics.
Yeah. Professor
Razi, I'll give you a book. The guy wrote amazing marvel of a book, only the mathematics of the Qur'an. And he showed how Allah is actually, coding the Qur'an in. And
a lot of that stuff you got to be careful with, like the 19 and all that.
No. He's talking about the visible mathematics there. Which humans being discovered now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? For example, the Gaussian prime is discovered now. Okay.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And, but the Quran is set on the Ghazian Prime. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, some magic or anything. It's like, why didn't we see it? Once I read that book, that's when I found out, when Allah's giving the challenge in the Quran, if you can produce one ayah like this, unless you're a mathematician, you won't even know how to actually get the whole formula in. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I want just mathematics. I'm talking about biology. I'm talking about astronomy. I'm talking about everything.
Yeah, we should be pioneering.
Yeah, we better be pioneering. Even if you're wrong, but your purpose has to be there, because you're going to make mistakes. And Quran is the only stencil. If it's not backing you up, you might as well be, you're probably wrong or right. It's a 50-50, throw up the dice. But if the Quran is literally saying something, so for example, Surah Nabala says, in the Day of Judgment, you'll see that the heavens are going to become, they're going to be doors that you can see heaven. The word is abwaba, which literally means doors, right? There's a literal meaning. You cannot just, come up with brackets and translations and, do whatever. So if some physicist, which there is one working right now in California right now, he's talking about doors opening.
Really?
Yeah. So, let me give you an example. The gravitational lens is such a common phenomenon in physics. Common means everyone knows about it. It's not happening every time. Everyone knows this. Gravitational lens is when this mic and this mic people standing on this mic will see this mic. But if there is a tiny little black hole on the size of this phone coming in between these two planets, even if they're 100,000 miles across, tiny little black hole like this, which is not visible, obviously, it's just big of a cell phone. But all of a sudden, what's going to happen to this mic? For these people, this mic is going to split in two.
Oh, wow. That's more of a quantum thing, isn't it?
It is, but it's not quantum because it's black. It's a black hole. It's as big as it gets. It's not quantum. And now you put this as Earth, this as a moon, and you put a tiny little black hole in, and the moon is going to split in two pieces.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying now? And since some black hole might have just come in, that means there's a start of a lot of things coming in. That's why Allah could have said, and I'm just saying, this could be one of the options that Allah says, now, Shaq will come and happened, now the Day of Judgment is upon you. It's as near as anything now. Because this process has started. Not the Shaq Qamar, but these sort of things popping up in your system now, in your solar system. Now, because the biggest miracle of the Shaq Qamar is not moon splitting in two. Way bigger a miracle is the two halves coming back. That's against every law of physics. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not two pieces of metal or two pieces of magnet coming together. Even if it were a real magnet, they went too far to be, attracted back. So this is not a magnet, by the way. This is just a satellite. A rock splitting. And a split of a rock can happen for many reasons in physics. Sure. But a rock in space with no friction, of no force pulling them back, these two pieces cannot come back. That's against physics. Now that's a way bigger miracle than the split of the moon. You know what I'm saying? But Muslims are not even trained to think on these lines. You know what a Muslim is going to be like? When Allah says that, Allah did it. Well, Allah told us that. Allah didn't do it for His own self. Allah did it for us so that we can think. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Still you're not going to think. You're not going to use your brains. What's going on? And I'm telling you this right now. Some Peter or Frank is going to do the math on this. And all of us will be like, oh, we told you so. No, we're not telling him so, okay? Allah told us so that we can tell everybody else. So they can know that this is a superior knowledge. Superior knowledge means dominance hierarchy, means serotonin. People are going to mimic the Muslims only if we lead in these realms. We are still mimicking the West because of their physics and the mathematics. We cannot help it. It's my body.
Yeah, but even if China overtakes the West, I feel like these guys are addicted to the Guru complex.
That's hence the propaganda. See, that's why I'm saying branding is so important.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why I said you're going to be asked two questions. I'll be asked one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you got the knowledge and the brand. Alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah. You need to be you tread very carefully. Because dominance hierarchy, I'm sorry, man. That's how it is.
Yeah, sure.
And there are no coincidences in Islam.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? So God chose you, you got to deliver now. Because
and he chose you too, in your capacity as well.
what I'm saying is, you're gonna be asked more questions than I am. We both
Don't
know
know
that.
about that.
Maybe I'm virtue signaling my own weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, see, if this is not, if we don't do this right now, people are not going to jump into, dominating the world.
Yeah.
And I teach this. I train CEOs, and I am the most expensive speaker in Pakistan. I bar none. Look it up, you'll find out. Wow. I only train CEOs. If our kids are in physics and mathematics, they'll naturally be dominating.
Yeah.
Because their physicists are dominating. Their Shakespeare's are not dominating us.
Yeah.
Oh, you are, because you're English, obviously. I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, I think Shakespeare is underrated. He's fantastic.
There you go. See, domination. I told you.
He's got like 30 or 40 words in the dictionary because of him.
And that's what your criteria is, so that he can dominate?
Oh, he's a literary genius.
Okay. So I'm not denying that he's great at what he did.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, that dude on the wheelchair, what was his name? Dawkins?
And,
He couldn't even get a single word in the dictionary. He's way more.
No, I reckon Shakespeare's blows him out of the water, man.
Really?
Yeah.
This dude is going to affect billions. Dawkins, I'm talking about.
Hawkins.
I'm sorry, Hawkins.
Yeah,
Hawkins.
yeah.
Hawkins. I apologize. So ironic.
Hawkins maybe as well, to be fair, but I don't know if he's that.
No comparison. No, are you kidding me? No. See, Dawkins could have been, I'm telling you, if he were in physics. But he was in biology.
Zoology even.
Yeah, even lower. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, these fields are there's a reason why certain fields dominate, certain fields don't. So literature, I come from a family of literature, okay? I'm actually a lineage of writers. My father had 7 books to his names. You have to understand. So I naturally would be biased towards saying, Shakespeare should be given some more points. But no, I'm sorry. That's not how the brain works. That's against the design of the human being. So what I need you to understand is that there is a reason why physics is higher in the hierarchy of dominance than biology. And there's a reason why chemistry is wherever it is, and mathematics is the highest, at the highest pedestal. And that's why we get intimidated by mathematicians, because there's a factor of awe in there.
Oh, I mean, they're geniuses. Yeah.
We call them geniuses for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, just like that, Musa alayhi salam was given the miracle of certain type. The same miracle was not given to Isa ibn Maryam. He came into the people of medicine. With the Romans, they were claiming to be in biology and everything and curing everything. But Isa ibn Maryam was not given the shaft where he can just mesmerize everybody. No, that went to the Kahans of Egypt, and that's what they were excelling in. They were dominating through their and they were doing a really good job. They did predict very rightly that that boy is going to kill you. Some boy is going to kill you, and then some boy did kill him. You know what I'm saying? So, and Nuh alayhi salam was not given the miracle of Musa alayhi salam.
Yeah, sure.
So Ibrahim alayhi salam was not given any just these things were very pertinent to the time that they were any prophet would come in. So we came in the time of physics and mathematics.
Yeah, science and technology. Yeah.
That's why our kids need to beat their sahas into their game, which is physics and mathematics right now. Sure. Tomorrow it could be something else. Someone is going to stumble upon some element and some new source of energy and a lot of Newtonian.
I think like people in the subcontinent have an advantage with maths, Like
really?
Yeah. I mean, in the UK,
amazing that
No, in the UK, like we're good with science and English. There's 3 core subjects. There's science, English, and maths. The science here is not bad. Like they've got, year 10s or year 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, they do triple science. They'll do 3 GCSEs in science. They'll do biology. They'll do physics. They'll do whatever. In English, they'll go through a lot of books. They'll go through a lot of
so literature heavy.
Yeah, it's literature heavy. It's not grammar heavy at all now. It used to be maybe about 100 years ago. But mathematics, pound for pound, we're maybe number 30 in the world or something in the UK. If like India is probably a much stronger nation. Pakistan might be a very strong nation as well. China is probably the strongest nation in mathematics. Have you seen those competitions, the mathematics competitions?
No, I keep talking about this in my work, in my video so much that since you're saying it, I'm just enjoying the fact that, you know what, see, now this is how the brand takes its grip and health and, you know, impression all over the world. Every Chinese is not a mathematician, but some Chinese made it. Now, everyone in England, in Pakistan, we also believe that Chinese are like, you know, born mathematicians. They're not. There's an exception that is being marketed so well.
They get taught it.
Yeah, of course. The abacus does.
They even get taught the IQs, and that's why they do very well in IQ tests. They get taught it when they're young.
True. So if we can do the same modeling to our, you know, parenting, so our impressions,
but with the aim of creating the next Muslim Eula, next
there you go,
top
yeah,
mathematician.
to dominate.
Yeah.
See, domination is not a luxury; it's a necessity. That's what the Qur'an is saying as well. We need to dominate in fields of our own pharaohs, and every pharaoh is going to come in with a different type of problem in his own time. We came into the time of physics and mathematics. Our kids need to be trained into, you know, dominating them in their own game. So that's the way China is known, is producing mathematicians. Muslims are not known for literature or mathematics or physics, and they were, by the way.
Literature, I mean, we had our time.
Yeah, the
and
Arabian.
mathematics, we also had our time, you know.
That's what I'm. I was saying.
But now we don't.
So that's the only one tribe that dominated mathematics, biology, physics,
and then also
astronomy,
military as well,
military, politics.
Yeah.
And Benjamin Franklin was paying jizya to the Turks. Benjamin Franklin, it's not so far away, you know what I'm saying? It's not 1,000-year-old. Benjamin Franklin. So we were dominating. We had our own, say in things, and people had to follow. Now, when I say I mean a model. It has to be a parenting model, and it has to flow through, you know, nations right now, nationalities, so that people would know that we're doing it for the same aim. We're doing it for, the purpose, the single purpose that, you know, the Quran is saying this. If the Quran is saying this, you got to do it. And you got to do it right. And we can learn from the Chinese. We can learn from, you know, the English or the Americans or the Europeans or whatever, whoever.
We've learned a lot from them already.
Yeah, we've learned all the wrong things already. So since Shakespeare is affecting a Muslim right here, you know what I'm saying?
It's brilliant. Have you read Macbeth or Othello?
I read all of Shakespeare because of my, you know, the fact that I was raised into a family which actually reads this. I've practically taught, you know, those people had something, no credit taken away from Shakespeare, because he was, that was the time he was actually calling the shots and whatever. But if the royalty was not backing Shakespeare up, he would not have made it the way he did. He would have been just another bum. He was backed up by every power at that time. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want our Muslims to go through. So if the power is not in our hands, even if he had all the talent, it's not going to amount to anything. That's what I mean when I say the model. So the politicians have to go in with the same purpose. The mathematicians have to go with the same purpose. And the writers have to go with the same purpose. Everyone's going to be branded really well, and that's the first step of dominating the game. If we're not going to do it, I swear to you, someone else is going to do it anyway. It's human design. It's not an Islamic value only. It's all human design. Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us to do it for the right reason. All the prophets dominated. That's why they ruled the thousands of years of literature. No matter if you're atheist or not, you cannot deny the fact that, you know what, there was religion before there was atheism. You know, so domination was done by design. It has to be done by design, and it has to be done for the right purpose. And if you're not going to do it, then you'll have to live with Nawaz Sharif.
And that's why the Prophet said that. The Prophet ﷺ said that اليد العليا خير من اليد السفلى. The upper hand is better than the lower hand.
I mean, imagine how simply Allah's Prophet ﷺ is saying. You know, because the upper hand literally means in this hadith the money giver. Okay, you need to understand how we need to gain the resources, but it's so ironic that all the Muslim countries, all of them, no exception, all the people who are dominating those Muslim countries are not dominating for the reason of Qur'an or Islam. They're literally dominating for their own families, legacies, dynasties, or political gain, or financial gain, corruption, whatever reason that they have. They've literally called the shots on all the Muslims' lives, and in here and in the hereafter as well. And you think we're just gonna get away with the fact that, you know what, I meant good, I wanted to be a good person. That's not gonna cut it in the day of judgment. It's a very simple thing. What was the system that you were part of? Were you a part of the dominated system or the dominating system? It is that simple. So, ma dinuka is the first question. You know, what did you contribute in? It is that simple. It is not about whether you prayed or not, whether you fasted or not. That's a question way later in. First question is, man rabbuka and ma dinuka. That's it. Were you a player of the game or not? You cannot be a spectator and answer this question. It is that simple. And most of the Muslims are just spectators because they think, you know, that's the kind of cards they were dealt. No, I'm sorry. You were dealt the Qur'an. You're not dealt a low hand, okay? You cannot lowball yourself out of this and argue yourself out of, your incompetence. I'm sorry. You got to work towards it. It is that simple. That's why I called Hijab in, and he said yes to already to be a part of our source code faculty as well, inshallah. We need to get that, because the fact that the way you carry yourself is an innate or genetic or maybe an acquired skill that you have, which you actually need to dominate. This is something that pisses off a lot of people, and that's the best thing about domination. Because unless if you're not riling up the evil, you're not making evil mad at you, then you are evil. It is that simple, because you're a pawn of his game then. So you're the only real challenge that I see all over the place. A lot of people, I know a lot of people are gaining strength of mimicking the way you're actually doing it. And the one thing that is common between all of your videos is that you're trying to come across as a strong person. That you cannot bully me. You want to do whatever, don't bully me. Okay? So that's something which I need to coming through, not just your presence, but your knowledge, which is going to create that presence, structure your presence, your sense of argumentation, the homework through which you're going to argue, and most of all, the purpose why you're arguing in the first place. So that's why I need this transcending down to at least 3 or 4 generations, so that some genius is going to come up with an improvement plan somewhere. But we got to set the pace right, inshallah.
No, you've really hit the nail on the head with all this stuff, and it's been a pleasure
having
you. And this is
one caveat though. You know what? People are going to be thinking that since I talked about other clerics, I'm in love with every Muslim, and everyone is trying at least.
Anyone should be aware that we're very, very respectful of all of the scholars.
That's why we didn't name any, but we all know that everyone knows that a pacifist.
You're gonna spoil it.
I don't want to see. لا تلبسوا الحق بباطل. So I have to call a spade here. Allah saying call a spade. There are a lot more problems coming through Muslim clergy in his Muslim mindset than Netanyahu, and Barack Obama's or Donald Trump's. They're not confusing Muslims. Muslims are confusing Muslims. That's what Allah is saying in the ayah. The kuffar are not, addressed here. Donald Trump is not addressed in this ayah. La talbisu haqqa bil batil. They're not doing it. They don't even claim stand for the haqq anyway. Netanyahu is not addressed here. This is the Muslim clergy who's being addressed here. Why would a non-Muslim start to conceal haqq and batil together? There's batil all over the place. There's left batil, there's right, there's batil from the right, left, bottom, center, up and down. This is the Muslim that is representing himself as haqq, and kitman is being done right now, right in front of our eyes. Okay? So I'm talking to my Pakistanis and Indian Muslims, as of course most of you guys who are going to listen to are going to be them. We are already used to it.
No, I'm banned in India, bro.
Yeah.
Watching the VPN.
Yeah, if you're using VPN in India, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Muslim clergy is the only solution. I'm not saying that they're the only solution. You need to become clergy now. People of high profile, stronger backgrounds, in superior psychology needs to jump into becoming Muslim clergy in the future. That is the only real profession to make a career which is going to pay in the day of judgment, inshallah.
That's true.
I mean, what else? Otherwise, there is no way for me to actually have any kind of hope, because I'm not going to hope from my army mates or my politicians or my bureaucrats or my technocrats. I'm sorry. They themselves say that we do not want Islam. Yeah. They don't even hide it anymore. Mm-hmm. So people who are going to listen to hijab are obviously going to be, coming from the green zone of wherever I have hope. Green zone means, that you're more fertile. I can sow the right seeds in your minds. So try and cast the clergy into definitions now. And those phylums have to be very clear that which phylum do you belong to. And I need you to become rich, for God's sakes. I need you to become politically powerful, for God's sakes. For God's sakes.
So that you can charge them £100,000 for it. Consultation.
Way more. And they're gonna have a lot more to give me way more.
Yes.
See, this is a win-win anyway. I was about to say that. It's a win-win.
So that's my rate for the hour in terms of your institute. That's it.
No, what I'm saying is, listen.
After that, you can get good hourly rate.
Way more than that, man. Why are you selling yourself so low?
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, come on, man. See, this is the English. This is the Shakespearean effect. Okay?
No,
what I'm saying is, seriously, I think whoever... See, if you're not going to do it, someone else will.
No, it's
and
true,
Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Muhammad, for God's sakes, imagine the irony of that we are the followers of Muhammad. And Allah says in Surah Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that if you're not going to do it, I'm going to replace you with someone who's going to be better than you. I mean, imagine how painful it will be that people who we believe ourselves as, people of the Qur'an, and people who are going to be replaced are us. I mean, imagine, I'm talking just to the religious mind. Think of the pain that Allah is replacing us because we did not qualify. And we are so judgmental that we think that all of those left flanks and those liberals and those, whatever we call whatever, we are better than them. I'm sorry. Allah says, no, there's no nepotism in Islam. You were given this job just like I gave it to the people of Musa alayhi salam and the people of Isa ibn Maryam. If you're not going to do this hakam and that is upon you and make sure that you live up to it, then Allah is going to replace you. It is that simple. And even if you don't take these words so seriously, I swear to God, there is a day that Allah has designed which is the most serious day. There's not going to be a single laughter that day. And my words will echo in your ears at that day that I warned you so. I'm telling you this, that the only real embarrassment is the embarrassment of that day. Okay? You can get away and hide away and turn off this video as soon as you can push a button and go into your bubble where you're the hero of your own movie. Do that. But if you believe that day is going to come to us, that day of judgment, then you gotta ante up the game and really ante up, okay? Because this is high stakes we're talking about, highest possible stakes we're talking about, the day of judgment. And you gotta show a really good hand that day that, this is my resume. And you cannot just virtue signal yourself away with, on that day.
It's very, very powerful.
So I hope everyone,
No, that was amazing. That was that last comment that you made there about the Day of Judgment. I think that puts things right in perspective. And if people want to come and see or see more of your videos, where would they go? So have you got your channel online?
Yeah, it's called Sahil Adeem Podcast now. We have officially put most of my work there. I'm actually doing a homeschooling tour right now in England, right now. And there's going to be public programs for Muslim identity, superior psychology. This is what we're actually trying to do here. Public sessions. Obviously, all of my sessions are free, no matter if it's homeschooling or whatever.
Wow.
So public
Didn't expect that.
You know what? The best part is, this part of your video is gonna go super viral. Okay, so you're gonna make a lot of money out of this. Because that's been, it's been such a big problem with the virtue signalers. That why is Sahil Adeem making money?
Let him make money. If he wants to make money, let him make money.
No, I've never charged anyone for any Islamic session ever. I've never charged a penny for my public sessions.
Yeah.
All of my movements are free. IMS, my biggest movement, is free, and now my IT team is telling me to put some sort of stress on people to take it seriously. Otherwise, it's free. We just don't, because it's also serotonin. It does not have that kind of dopamine and serotonin. People are not gonna take it seriously. Yeah. So if you need to be taken serious, you need to.
That's true, actually.
You need to put some degree of pain or effort in there. And again, we're not gonna do it. I swear to you, Netanyahu is already doing it. He's doing a good job doing whatever he believes in. So if you're not going to do it, stop complaining then, okay? Your tears are not worth anything if you're not following it up with enough of your legwork.
With that, we conclude. Jazakumullahu khairan, and thank you so much for coming.
Barakallahu feek. Jazakallah for having me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey you, are you wasting your time on social media again? Your brothers and sisters in Islam Net from Norway are establishing a masjid, a dawah center. Establishing a masjid to convey the message of Islam is one of the best deeds a Muslim can do. There's a huge need for it in Norway. You know this and I know this. So that makes the reward even greater. So give generously and Allah Azza wa Jal will give you even more.